Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Hivemind Recap Podcast, June 2021 recap. If you're new here, welcome. My name's Jake. I'm here with the usual crew as per usual: Justin, Derek, Jacob. How y'all feeling tonight?
He did the thing. I'm so proud of him.
I remembered. I need to work on. Yeah, I'm working on making it like a cleaner introduction. Maybe I need to actually script out how I'm gonna say it, because it's not it's evidently something I'm not very good at doing.
That's a lot of effort.
It is a lot of effort. So
we're winging
get
it.
A little audio jingle.
It's also funnier content when I wing it and it just sounds dumb.
Or when you don't do it.
Either way, it's a lose if I actually script it out. And that's putting in more effort, so.
The three of us are here solely to capitalize on your mistakes. So,
and it's great.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
You did this to yourself.
This is our June 2021 recap. A little later into the month, we pushed it back a week for reasons. But that means that it's just going to be less of a delay between July, because if we did this last week, July was going to be a 5 week gap.
Good.
July was going to be a 5 week gap.
Good start.
So instead, we're just doing it for June because reasons. But yeah, if you're new here, feel free to follow on social media at HiveMindRadio_ on Instagram and Twitter. Follow on Spotify. Just look up Hivemind Radio playlist. There's a playlist there. There's also a playlist for this month's episode, so everything we're going to be talking about in this episode, there's a playlist for it. If you enjoy the music we're going to discuss this episode, go give that playlist a follow or a listen or something or other. But yeah, that's about it. Derek, before you got here, we were having a little bit of a conversation.
Oh?
And I wanted to bring this up in the actual episode before we actually get into talking about the new music from June.
Mm-hmm.
So, if the Hivemind were to become a band,
who
who would play each role? Who would play each role in the band? Who would be the drummer? Who would do guitar, bass? Who would do vocals?
I feel like Justin would just be like the tech guy. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like he's the roadie. He's like the band's water boy. You know, we're like in the middle of set, just water. He's like, oh, sorry guys, my bad. That leaves Jacob to play drums and bass at the same time. So good luck with that one. I kind of want to see Jake on vocals. I think that would be an interesting dynamic.
Okay.
I know Jake's got those heavies. Which I guess what?
Unrelated point, but I've low-key wanted to learn how to do a metal scream just so I can express anger, because expressing anger is something I'm very bad at, and I cannot think of a single other outlet to learn how to express anger and feel okay about it than to try and learn how to scream.
That's the funniest shit in my head. If I was just trying to nag some dude and I pissed him off and he just let out a guttural, I don't know what I would do.
I'm just so bad at expressing emotions.
Some people lash out physically and hit and kick and scream or whatever, and then it's just you standing still, building it in, shaking, just let out a blah. Oh, I like that.
I feel like it would work.
Piss someone off, they just walk by and just go blah.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like it would work though to help me deal with this built-up anger that sometimes just builds up inside of me.
I'm pretty sure that there are separate outlets that you should pursue to fix that, other than learning how to do gutturals. But I think it's a step in the right direction.
It's like forcing myself to release that energy in some way, instead of when I had a mental breakdown 2 weeks ago. I went outside the front yard and just picked grass out of the ground.
Yeah, I feel like metal screaming over being a manual lawnmower is a bit better of an outlet.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that seals it. It'd be Jacob on drum and bass, Justin handing the gang water.
Yeah,
we got Jake on vocals. I guess that puts me on guitar.
Yeah.
You know what? We're gonna have there's those obscure breakdowns in Bill Murray. I say we put Justin on the triangle and have him hit it before every breakdown. It's build up, stop, and then it kicks in.
We
What
can't
about the
afford to pay him a
Patreon we
wage
were
if
talking
don't-
about?
like, we can't afford to pay him a wage if he's just a water boy. We need him to actually
That's
do
true,
something on
that's
at least
true.
one song.
There's
on
just
our
a
live
water
sets.
boy tier.
Dude, that
He
shit
plays
would be
this
so
Taco
funny.
Bell sound effect.
Yeah,
Dong.
I think that's the funniest shit. Like for the concept as a band, is just like they've got that one guy who's like just kind of there, and he just does the same thing. But like we have the same song structure every single time, and before every breakdown, Justin's never on stage except for that one moment. He comes out, hits the triangle, immediately turns around and leaves.
And then in another song, he's
That
That sounds like a.
yeah,
that sounds like
exactly. He's
a,
walking from backstage.
That sounds like a Shrezzer's thing to do, or like a Dance Gavin Dance, just to have like
Yeah.
that one random ass instrument. come out.
That's like I mentioned, it's the Bill Murray, but
Bill Murray.
that's-
Yeah.
I'll fuck with it.
With that sidetrack out of the lab, I wanted to have that discussion before we get into this month's music.
Very important.
We got some pretty good songs to start off the month of June with. Starting off with Sleeping with Sirens, back with a brand new song called Bloody Knuckles.
We gotta wide away, take it 'cause we're sick of it all. Back to backs, we're going at the bottom, but we got no reason.
You can't hear it through my microphone, but I just yawned. I don't know. I want to hear how you guys feel on it first, because I am not super high on this.
I really
I'm
liked
also not high on it.
I really liked this personally.
I
What
think it's
about
just
it?
okay.
Yeah, that's about where I'm at.
I once again feel like it's one of those bands that I don't have a great frame of reference to, because the only material I've really heard from them was that 2019 album. And I don't know a lot of their earlier material, which is like kind of what they're known for, I feel like.
My
Yeah.
opinion on Sleeping with Sirens is still holding true. Colin Quinn is great as a feature, but in his own band, it's kind of what he's there for.
I
Sounds like
no. What was you
Caleb
gonna say?
Shomo.
Oh,
Caleb Shomo
yup.
with me.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like a lot of bands get better with age sometimes, where like they learn to progress on their sound and like put out some of the best material later in their career. For Sleeping with Sirens, and I guess a lot of other bands, like I guess Pierce the Veil too, as opposed to their quote unquote newer material, which was what, like 2016? I don't know. But those era of bands, for the most part, to me, feel like they get worse with age. I don't know. Sleeping with Sirens' first two and like arguably three albums are like iconic, right? And I they're my personal favorites too. And everything since then, especially with this single and everything off of How It Feels to Be Lost, I don't actively dislike anything I'm hearing, but I'm not loving anything. Like Jacob said, it's just kind of okay, and this one just feels like it's there too.
I would cluster this in with like my top 3, top 4 favorite songs off of How It Feels to Be Lost, which I can only think of like 2 off the top of my head right now, being Ghost and Bloodlines. I think those are the 2 songs anyway that I really liked. I feel like it's of that caliber in my opinion. I thought Kellen's vocals were solid here, incorporating the uncleans. I feel like you've said, Derek, before, like the uncleans feel motivated almost.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like they work in that sense in this song. I thought the breakdown was pretty nice too. I wasn't expecting. I don't know if I was expecting it to be as heavy as it was.
Yeah,
It isn't.
the
It
breakdown's
isn't a
the highlight for me.
fantastic. It isn't like an all-star level breakdown, but it's definitely solid. It's a headbanger breakdown for sure. And otherwise, Kellen's vocals are. You know, it's hard to complain about them, to be honest, in my opinion. Like, even if he is, in many cases, almost better suited in a feature, like, it's still kind of hard to say anything bad about them.
Yeah, I feel like it's never like vocal technique for Kellen Quinn or anything. Like, there's never anything to nitpick on. It's just personal preference.
Yeah.
It's like I know a lot of people don't like, Sleeping with Sirens, Sleeping with Sirens, Pierce the Veil, or even like Dance Gavin Dance with the Tillian era to an extent, just because like those higher pitched voices don't always like sit well with people. For me, I like it in Pierce the Veil. I liked it in the older Sleeping with Sirens material. Here, it's like, I don't know. But either way, I assume this is going to be off of something, like a new album.
Probably.
And so I'm very excited to see where it goes, especially with like my expectation. As long as I can get a couple songs off whatever this comes off of, I'm very happy.
Speaking of
Speaking-
some,
Oh,
I want to do this one.
okay.
Go for it.
Derek, I
Uh-huh.
bet this is what you wanted.
This is what I wanted.
Memphis May Fire have released their new single, Blood and Water.
Jake, I want to know if this is where you were going with your transition, but I was going to say that speaking of bands that put out like 2 really good early albums and then fell off.
Yeah.
It was something. It was something in that degree. I was basically gonna say like it's another legacy band that dropped a new song.
Yes. Thank God Memphis May Fire decided to get heavy again and make
Yeah.
like actual metalcore instead of whatever that last album was. This is so good.
I have a very clear top 3 favorite songs this month, and this is very clearly in that top 3.
Mine, well, shit. I'm gonna go with number 4.
Okay.
I think.
This is in my top 5, I'd say.
Okay. And is it in
Wait.
is it in Justin's top 30?
somewhere in the 87 songs we have on this playlist.
Yeah, Maddie Mullins finally back screaming, which is just what you mentioned it, Jacob. This is what I wanted, right? This is the Memphis May Fire that I was sort of more introduced to, like with the earlier albums, because I found The Sinner as the first song from this band, and I really love it. That whole album, The Hollow, and even Challenger afterwards as well is really good. And after that, they started to kind of fall off in terms of getting softer. And I really like Matty Mullins' cleans, like even when it was just him doing stuff on Broken, that 2018 album. But the music just felt so uninspired, whereas this feels like a return to form in the best possible way. You know, like it's a generic metalcore song with a generic song structure, but Memphis May Fire, one of the bands who pioneered that generic like risecore metalcore structure. So they know how to do it, and if they do it well, it's great. And I think that they did it fantastically here.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is generic metalcore, but it is done to, like, the highest level in every single piece of the song structure. Like, the opening riff, sick.
Oh, that riff.
Yeah, that opening riff, sick. The verses are great. The chorus, it's huge. The breakdown, it's fat, it's massive. The second breakdown, it's also fat and massive. The lines that come right before the breakdowns, sick nasty.
Yep.
I think that's like one of the things that like almost can make or break a breakdown sometimes is if you just have like a weak line that goes into the breakdown, it just doesn't hit the same. But
yeah,
the breakdown lines for this time where it's like, you can't believe what you hear from the mouth of a serpent, like that just hits hard going into a sick guitar riff.
Dude, and it's out of nowhere too. It's just like break down in your face.
And then what's the last? This is the nail in the coffin. Like just 2 killer lines to go into a breakdown.
I just want to highlight the second half of the chorus. What I think it's a lot like the first half is okay, but then you get to the second half, it's like, oh, his voice sounds so great.
Yeah, I think it's part of the tempo switch with the instrumentation
definitely.
too. Yeah, no, I really like this. Like Jacob said, you know what? I went back and looked at the playlist. I'll give this top 5, and I'm wondering if my top 5 is the same as yours. We'll see. By the time all is said and
I think we have at least one song in common. I would hope.
For sure.
I know what it is.
We'll get there. Any last comments on them? Actually, yes, I do have a last comment. Memphis May Fire, another one of those bands that I haven't really gone that deep into their discography. I listened to Broken, was woefully unimpressed, and never decided to give any of their older material a listen.
Missing out.
Evidently, I am missing out, as I am with many a band. This is by far my favorite Memphis May Fire song of what I've heard.
Same. I think this is better than anything of the like. I've went back and listened. Like I didn't listen to their albums when they came out. Maybe it's a time thing, like you had to be there kind of thing. Because I've went back and listened to, you said, the Sinner and the Challenger, and meh.
I really
This
like
is-
them, but
this is by far my favorite.
mine as well, actually. I'm higher on those first two albums than you are. I don't know if it's because by all means, I wasn't around when or not that I wasn't around, but I wasn't into this sort of music when they came out. Like it's 7 years removed from when I got into them, but with it being my introduction to the band, it almost feels
sorry.
like I was.
I said the Sinners. Everybody's gonna get mad at me. The
Hollow.
Hollow. Sorry.
But I think that this is better than that as well. And I don't know if it's just recency bias or how much I've played this and enjoyed it, but great song. Definitely check it out if you haven't.
Let's move on then. The City Is Ours is back with a brand new single called Death of Me.
The day without you will be the death of me. Will be the death of me.
Funnily enough, this actually isn't the only song called Death of Me we'll be talking about this month, which I just made that connection. But we'll get to that much later.
Da, 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 da.
Yeah. Yeah. This is definitely the weakest single, in my opinion, compared to Violent and Coma. It's like, I still have a lot of faith in this album, to be honest, but it has been a bit of a decline from Violent to Coma to this, getting progressively a little bit worse. However, the night we're recording this, July 8th, they're dropping a brand new song tomorrow, which we'll be talking about in next month's episode for sure. They have done some fantastic advertising for that, and I'm really excited, and I'm hoping that they reverse my feelings on these last two singles, because Violent was such a banger, and then Coma almost was too much metalcore for me, and this, the elements don't come together for me here. I think they went for something softer here, and the whole, like, kind of more poppy, like, death thing, it just...
Yeah.
I think there are good parts of the song, though. It's just, with that being such a core piece to the song, it makes it hard for me to want to go back to it all that often.
No, I agree wholeheartedly. I've enjoyed the other singles enough. I still think I would take most of the material off their 2019 album over what I've heard so far. Still excited for the album. The singles kind of muddled those expectations a bit. Hoping it's more of an outlier than anything else because it's so different than the other singles, I guess. But you never know. We've seen plenty of bands release the heavy single first and give us something else that defies expectations. So we'll see. I've got faith in them.
Yeah.
I think they can do it, but this single's not selling me on that potential.
I pretty much agree with everything. I think we both have very similar thoughts on this song.
Yeah.
Justin, Jacob, assume you guys don't have much more to add?
No, not really.
Nope.
Alrighty then. We'll keep our eyes on them, hoping for better in the future. We got a new band to talk about up next. Isotopes are out with a brand new song called WYWFM.
It stands for Will You Wait For Me?
I couldn't remember that. Yep, thank you, Justin.
No, Justin, I will not wait for you. Sorry.
Oh.
So Justin, this is a band that you've been quite into, as far as I'm aware, at least recently.
Yeah, this band is kind of harkening back to a lot of the like the catchy kind of punk mixed with like post-hardcore. Like I'd say 2007, like 2010 era of music. That's kind of what I'm feeling. This song in general, I think of their most recent singles. Probably gives that feeling a little bit more. I like it. I thought I would bring it to the podcast to see how everyone else thought about it. Wasn't my favorite from their recent releases this year, but it's up there.
Yeah, I remember you sending this to me, and I was definitely impressed. Like, it's a solid song from top to bottom. It's just missing that factor to really hook me in and want to keep going back to it. But I am definitely going to be keeping my eye out on them. Thanks for putting me onto them, because there's definitely a lot of good elements here, and I'm certain that it's eventually going to click with me in the future.
I was just gonna say that's about where I'm at too. That this is not a band that I'd really had any experience with prior. I won't say that I loved it per se, but I liked it enough that this band is now somebody to keep my eye on. You know, I'm excited and hopeful for future releases, even though this one didn't hook me, and that's always, in my opinion, a great place to be with a band.
Yep.
They apparently I found this through for Release Radar, or might have been through Discover Weekly.
It did premiere on Dreambound, so
that also
I thought
couldn't
you would
give
have
it-
found it from there, but maybe not.
either or, I don't remember. But on their About Me page on Spotify, they list themselves as an underdog amongst the melodic metal and post-hardcore genre. So, if they're putting themselves on that spectrum, maybe we'll get something a bit more instrumentation. Because I felt like this song in general was a little bit muted when it comes to the instrumentals. I felt like they kind of blended in quite a bit. Flower, their release before this, I feel like had a bit more expression in that. And I haven't gone back and listened to their 2019 EP, so I couldn't tell you how that sounds. But I definitely need to keep more up to date with this band as well, because they definitely sound pretty good.
Yeah. I don't know if there's too much more to say here, because this was a pretty last minute ad, so I don't know if we have too much. We don't have too much time with this song to really go into too much more detail here.
That's all I got.
So with that, let's move on then to another brand new band for the podcast. The Wild and Free have dropped a brand new song called "Let You Go."
So always different. I have to let you go.
Derek, I remember you dropping this one in our Discord a while back, and I did not expect to be getting something this good.
Me neither, to be quite honest. Especially from a band. So this is a small little, pop rock, female vocalist led band from St. Louis, Missouri, who has, I believe, at or just slightly below 1,000 monthly listeners at this point. Which blew me away because I heard the song from a clip on Twitter and it ended up in my feed. And I went expecting this to be a bigger band than it was, because the kind of production electronic elements and the mixing on it, I expected to be from, a bigger band, especially with the pop melody that I could hear here. And so to find out that this band is as small as they are is almost kind of a travesty, because I feel like they deserve a lot more attention, I mean, this song is stupid good. It's so catchy. It's the pop side of that pop rock type thing, and God, yeah, I think for me the electronic kind of repitched, repeated vocals in the background really are what sells me on it. That's the bit I couldn't get out of my head when I first heard this, and it hasn't left. I've had this on pretty constant repeat throughout the month, and it is off of an upcoming album, I believe, sometime this fall. Don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure.
That is news to me, and I'm very excited for that now.
Yeah,
I think you go on.
Well, I was just gonna say that if the rest of the album is the same level of quality as this song is, it's like a dark horse, unexpected top 10 contender for me.
It could be, yeah. In all honesty, I checked out their previous single that came out before this. I forget the name of it. It didn't stick out nearly as much to me. But if they can keep on releasing stuff that is as catchy as Let You Go, then I am all on board for sure. This has elements of Rivals, and given that Sad Looks Pretty on Me is one of my favorite albums of this year right now, for me to make that comparison, it's quite high praise, I would say.
Yeah.
From me at least, given the similarities, I guess. There's one other thing that I want to highlight that I don't think we have highlighted yet, and it's the sort of breakdown that we get. It's not really a breakdown, but it builds and then kind of drops right at the end. That bridge into the drop gave me chills the first time I heard it, and I was like, that's when I knew that this was like a treat of a song. That's when I knew this was going to be something I was going to be going back to when I heard that drop. That's like the cherry on top for me, that little piece of the song, because everything else was really good. But then that drop really, it just makes it almost shows like the level of talent that this band has for me. That piece right there is enough to tell me like, this band has the talent to be making some incredible stuff. It's just really great songwriting and structure at that point. And like even still, like when I listen to it, it doesn't happen every time, but there's still times when I listen and I get to that bridge section and it starts building, and like I still get chills occasionally listening to that bridge part because it's just so good in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. Just a fantastic single from a band that, like Isotopes, I now really, really have my eye on to check them out as they continue to release things. A great find.
Yep, definitely. Thank you, Derek, for this one.
Yes, sir. Speaking of small bands that have been great finds, Sorakai are back and rebranded and have put out the last track off their Expedition EP entitled The Thought of You.
Quite a shame that this got pushed back so long, because they were on such a goddamn roll releasing those singles earlier this year. And then to get stuck in having to name change hell like 3 or 4 other bands have this year at this point, the momentum was just so strong. It's a shame that it had to get halted right before the finish line. But regardless of that, this is just another fantastic song from them. And, like, I don't know what else to say. If you aren't aware, Sorakai was previously known as McKenna. We talked about all of their previous singles, Habitual, Finer Highs, A War Within. I forget what the other 2 are right now. But this band has been on a roll lately, and this is the final piece of the puzzle. And it's just another really solid song for them. I don't think it has the same star potential that Habitual had for me, or A War Within, but I think it fits very nicely into their sound and into the context of the EP, which we aren't talking about the EP. We're more so just focusing on the song since we have talked about the other 5 previously. But I did just want to make mention that, like, the entire EP is just, like, top to bottom fantastic, which should be obvious given that we've been talking about them basically since the start of this cycle.
Am I out of pocket to say that this is my favorite song off the EP? Oh. Well,
I would disagree because Habitual exists, but I know I'm also alone on that opinion, so.
Yeah, it's this and Finer Highs for me.
For me, it's just Finer Highs.
I am not. How do I put this? Having listened to the full EP, like front to back, once this came out, I like it, and I'm expecting big things from the band moving forward. I wish I would have more than this song and Finer Highs to go back and revisit, but at the same time, it's like it's a band's debut EP. We can only expect so much, and to get the quality that we have, I think is still very impressive.
Absolutely.
Another little podcast darling small band that we are very happy to.
Yeah, I think we say podcast darling small band for like quite a few bands. This might be like the cream of the crop of those podcast darlings, if you ask me.
Yeah.
I'm afraid there's gonna be that 1 month where we just get a lot of our darlings in one fucking playlist. And we're gonna wonder why we did this to ourselves.
Look, you know what? The amount of good content that we get from those podcast darlings, I'm okay with it, especially this month.
Good content at our expenses. That's how we roll here.
Good content at the expense of our sanity.
Absolutely.
Y'all, speaking of good content, Afterlife have put out a new single entitled Part of Me.
Also off of an upcoming album called Part of Me, releasing in August.
This
Nice.
is my favorite Afterlife song.
Same.
Yes.
But I've listened to this song so much that I've started to not like it.
Oh no!
Oh no! Things you don't like to hear. That.
Yeah,
Man.
I've been listening to this song a lot because I really enjoyed it when I first heard it, and then
Yeah,
I've almost listened to it too much.
I didn't expect to enjoy this as much as I did, but goddamn, it gets stuck in your head, and I just can't stop sometimes.
That's where I ended up. I'm the opposite as Jacob. I didn't like this at first. I mean, it was okay, but it was one oh wow. I'm trying to say like 3 different things at once. My bad. I've got certain songs sometimes that I don't like them on first listen. I'll listen to them again. It doesn't sell me. And then I'll wake up the next morning with that song in my head, just like out of nowhere. I'm like, damn it, I got to re-listen to it. And almost always, I then like the song. So I didn't start out loving this and then fall out of love with it. I wasn't in love with it, and now I really, really, really enjoy it. It gives me huge Linkin Park vibes. Like,
Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
even draw that
Yeah, it
connection.
definitely has a connection there. In some
it's
ways.
just the resemblance is uncanny. I feel like at least to me.
Yeah, even the album artwork. Now that I see it,
Actually, I hadn't placed that. Yeah, it's kind of that. It's got the tan and red from oh god, if I get this wrong, I'm gonna get butchered. I believe it's Hybrid Theory, right?
Yeah,
Linkin Park.
as well as Meteora.
Yeah,
We are
yeah,
making
yeah.
all of these comparisons to Linkin Park. I do want to make it clear that this band is not a Linkin Park clone.
No,
because they
no,
are-
by
definitely
no
not.
means.
are like
By no means. Please do
Yeah.
not assume that. This band is so much more. I really liked I believe it was Broken, right? Or Breaking Point. That's what it was. That 2019 album. There's some real good songs on there.
I plan on listening to that eventually.
Having heard this, the previous 2 singles, and then the single that released this past Wednesday, which we'll get to next month. I am very, very excited for this. I wouldn't have expected to be as excited for this album as I was like going into this year. Like if you'd give me a list of everybody putting out an album, but having heard all the singles and especially this, sign me up.
Yep.
This band has so much to offer, and I think that this is a damn good title track.
Oh,
I'm happy with that. I always love
Absolutely.
when a title track for an album is like the best or one of my favorites, and I think that's definitely going to be the case here.
It
Although
doesn't
part of
always
me
have
hopes
to be
it's
the
not.
best. Hey, nice joke. It doesn't always have to be the best, but as long as it's like
Oh.
one of the best, then you feel it deserves its title almost.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even mean to make that joke, but I was gonna say that actually I'm also kind of hoping that this isn't the best that the album has to offer.
Yeah.
Because then, like, if this is like mid ground, I like it this much, hearing the rest of the
Yeah.
album being
Yeah.
great. Very excited for this album based off the single. Definitely.
This
check
song
it out.
alone makes me significantly more excited for this album than I ever thought I was going to be.
For sure.
This song fucks. Period. Let's move on then. Beyond Unbroken are back with a brand new song called Silver Spoon.
Yeah, I know you think I might be doing all this for fame. Well, damn right, I could use all the plays. Unless you think when he labels wouldn't mind if they pay. I never had a silver spoon.
We talked about their album from last year, their debut album, Running Out of Time. I don't think any of us were really that into it. This is their first new material since then, and it wasn't something that I really went back to all that much. But it has one of the funniest pre-breakdown verses that I have heard in a while. It's
Wait until this is foreshadowing, but wait until tonight.
Oh, I see.
I see.
I know exactly where that's going.
I need to pull up the lyrics on my phone, but if I may entice you guys to all go look up the music video.
Oh
of
god,
this
I
song.
haven't seen the music video.
So
I'm
look
kinda
up the
scared.
music video
So-
for this.
No, I'm broken.
And then go to like the 2-minute 30 mark when the breakdown hits, and you'll see
Oh,
what I'm
no.
talking about.
Oh god, I've got an ad from my local news.
While you're doing that,
Wait, what the what? Hello? What is that? Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and watch this full thing later. Y'all, look, if you're listening, you don't have to like the
Okay.
song. Go to 2 minutes and 30 seconds in that music video. Holy
Alright.
mother of God.
my
What the-
problem with this song is the lyrics.
yeah, the lyrics are. That's what I was about to get into. This. Let me just say the lyrics for the bridge into the breakdown first. Hey, hold up, lower the track, it's my lawyer. Hey, what's up? You get my royalties figured out? What do you mean they spent it all on a new video? Man, what the fuck?
I appreciate it actually.
Actually
And that's-
reminds me of Attila.
I was just about to say that. The lyrics on this music in this video give me Attila vibes.
It's some corny shit, but that breakdown is fantastic. I love it. That's what's kept me going back to this song. The rest of the song's fine, but that breakdown is just like it's something else.
Jake, I will recommend you Attila
Okay.
if you like this.
I will
breakdown.
not recommend you Attila.
True, good point.
That band sucks in a shit. I'm putting it out there. Although they do have a new album out, I think a month or two from now. So
Will
it may
we
actually
review
be
it?
this month.
Find out.
I think.
Follow on
yeah,
social
I'm
media
sure.
to find out at Hivemind
So speaking of albums that are coming out, is this attached to anything?
I have no idea. I
Not
don't
at
think it's
the
been
moment.
announced yet. It very well could just be a standalone.
We'll
Yep,
find
that's the
out, I
song.
guess. Yeah, exactly.
Above it all, from Archetypes Collide, the third single of whatever project they're doing for.
I thought they were
Good
still just
analysis.
on. I thought they were just still on the single train. I didn't think they were on like have to release like an album or an EP or anything.
They've been downplaying that these singles are attached to a project. I think they are. They, just for reasons, can't say anything about it. I wouldn't be surprised if another EP or maybe an album comes out later this year or early next year.
I really feel like they're just on the single wave right now. Given that there was like 2 or 3 months between Your Misery and Becoming What I Hate, and then like a 6-month gap to the next song. That feels like a single release schedule to me. That doesn't feel like it's releasing towards like an album or an EP.
I don't know. Some bands have done that, like Siamese. Siamese have had a good spacing of their singles.
Fair enough, I guess.
Speaking of the single,
regardless.
this is definitely, in my opinion, probably the weakest single, but it's not because it's a bad song. It's because the other two are just so fucking good. And
Yeah,
this one really doesn't stand out between
Yeah.
them.
I think they went for a different song structure here, where you kind of have a build up into a drop, kind of more like an EDM song structure.
Mm.
And the drop kind of just doesn't hit for me. You have that little synth bit, like that's like it's a very slow drop, slow tempo with a little bit of synth here and there, and it doesn't really capture me.
I feel like the instrumentals are a little bit repetitive, but honestly, having just some repeat, it's very easy to kind of lose how many times you've listened to the song. It's got that right amount of catchy to where you like listening to it, and that with each replay it does get in your head a little bit. But I won't say this is my favorite Archetypes Collide. This is better than Forgive Me, I'll say that much. And just Forgive Me just kind of lingered, even though they did it wonderfully, especially with the music video. But the music video for this one as well was really good. But that's about all I've got to say. Archetypes Collide, just don't fucking miss.
Yeah, even with us saying that this is the weakest one, this band just doesn't miss.
No.
At least they haven't for a while, at the very least. Like even if it's not my favorite, I've still gone back to it a handful of times because Archetypes Collide are just a good band at writing really good songs, and I'm on board with basically anything they're doing at this point, and I have been for a while.
It's crazy how much they've grown. I've just looked at their monthly
Yeah.
listeners, and they're
Yeah,
at
they've-
70,000
Yeah, we found them in what, like early 2019? I feel like mid 2019,
roughly.
and they were probably like less than 25K at that point.
What the fuck?
So
Serious Octane, Jesus Christ.
yeah, Sirius Octane has been doing them some good, and they deserve it.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know if there's too much more to say here.
No,
Derek,
that's all I got.
Nope, I will echo what Justin said. I think this is a good song, but it's the weakest of the singles.
Let's move on then. Concrete Castles have dropped their third single, Porcelain.
I'm not expecting you to go. I'm shattered by her. What you say, watch what you do to his porcelain
Ah, yeah,
Yeah, this one.
yeah, they have.
This is one of the five, isn't it?
This is number one.
Ah, okay.
This is my favorite song of the month off of
Huh.
any single, any album. Yeah. It's AOTY season, boys.
Yeah,
Concrete Castles are 3 for 3.
They are 3 for 3, and they are making a goddamn run for that throne.
This is also my favorite of the 3 that they've released so far.
Yeah. Definitely.
When album?
Yeah. It's got to be this
One
year. It's
album.
got to be this year.
Didn't no? I asked that because I thought you said they announced it. Am I losing my mind? Hold on.
I don't think they announced the album yet. They've announced that an album is coming. They haven't given a date, as far as I'm aware. And if I have missed a date, then I'm upset at myself because I could have been hyping myself all this time. Anyway, this song is fantastic. Concrete Castles, First to 11, whatever name you want to call this group under, they're just so incredibly talented, and I'm so happy that they are releasing a more constant string of original material at this point, because it's all so good. They have been doing their covers under First to 11 for so long that they've really figured out what their sound is under trying to cover all types of songs. They figured out the core of who they are as a band and as a group, and they're putting it to full usage on all of these singles, and particularly this one. I'm not as high on it as you are, Derek, but it is still clearly my favorite single. Like, I also think it's interesting that the chorus, I still don't I listen to the song and I can't follow along with the lyrics in the chorus for whatever reason, but it doesn't matter because it's just, it works regardless. I don't have to know what Audra is saying in the chorus to know that it bangs, whatever she's saying. Yeah, just a really solid song, Derek, if you want to say more.
Well, so it's
for it.
interesting that you mentioned that you couldn't understand the lyrics in the chorus because the lyrics to the chorus are some of my favorite parts of the song. I'm not expecting you to go and shatter my heart. What you say, watch what you do to his porcelain daughter.
That line there, that's the
behave.
one line that I cannot get.
Yeah.
Cannot
It
comprehend.
basically, at least the best of my understanding is this song is about maybe Audra, maybe just speaking out about like women in general or a specific fictional girl, whatever, who feels very controlled by, I guess specifically like the men in her life who view themselves in higher lights and project everything onto her and like treat her as like some sort of fragile little, porcelain, right? And so this song is about kind of reclaiming your own identity and saying, hey, I'm not some fragile piece of porcelain. I'm not somebody who you can easily break when things go wrong for you. There's just as much wrong with you as you think there is with me. Kindly fuck off, right? Like, effectively. I don't know, just a very lyrically powerful song with what I feel like is her best delivery on any of the singles to date. Very, 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 very happy with this song. I've had it on constant repeat all throughout the month, and I don't foresee that changing anytime soon. Huge track. Huge track.
Yeah,
I'm gonna echo what you've said, and this is in my top 3 of this month.
Let's go.
that's a surprise to me, but a welcome
I was gonna
surprise.
say so too, but I like to see it.
I mostly because of what I linked in our chat, but they put out a reimagined of the song.
Yeah, that reimagined is so good.
For sure.
We aren't talking about that one, but
No,
they've done reimagined for all 3 singles so far, and every single one is fantastic. But
it's really-
Porcelain
yeah.
is definitely the best reimagined and the
The-
best single.
The reimagined, also I got some lore. They're
Oh, boy.
gonna come out on Spotify after the album drops. Yeah, so basically, they didn't want the reimagined versions to take away from the streaming of the other singles, and that way they could just use Spotify and like other music platforms to just promote the original versions themselves. So if we're patient, the rest of them will come out soon. But yeah, no, Concrete Castle's definitely a band to keep your eye on if you haven't heard them yet. Definitely check out this one and the other 2 singles. Big things coming from this band.
Absolutely. Let's shift gears just a little bit. It's time for some Hot Milk Supremacy. They have dropped a brand new single called I Just Want to Know What Happens When I'm Dead.
I just wanna know what happens when I'm dead. Living in an epidemic in my head. Oh, my skin.
And anyone else want to join me on this Hot Milk Supremacy hype train?
I have been close to being on the Hot Milk Supremacy hype train for a long time. I am now on the Hot Milk Supremacy hype
Let's
train.
go.
Dude, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, say it 10 times fast, right?
No,
Hell
I
no.
will not be saying it.
Why does that sound like a Bill Murray song title? Hot Milk Supremacy hype train.
Oh my god.
All one word
wanna-
too.
I wanna wait, hold on. Go ahead. I'm gonna run an experiment with my mic muted. I want you to tell me about this Hot Milk single.
This song is so goddamn good. You open up with Hannah screaming, "It's the end," which, like, okay, I'm gonna change my train of thought already. This band is so unpredictable, but they nail it no matter what the hell style they are doing. Like, I never know what I'm going to get with this band in terms of, like, am I going to be getting something heavier in the vein of, like, this or a California's Burning? Or am I going to get something more, like, melodic driven, like a Glass Spiders? Or something more pop punky, like June Gloom? It doesn't matter. This band is so goddamn good. And they nail it no matter what style they're doing. They just have such an innate talent to be energetic. Hannah and Jim, the 2 vocalists, they have such a strong energy and charisma to them that, like, I cannot not pay attention to what they're doing. Hannah, in the second verse, has one of my favorite vocal deliveries of the year with, what is it? God. I'm gonna cut this out in editing, I know, while I look this up, because this is embarrassing.
So my while you're doing that, my little experiment was whether or not I could fit the syllables of Hot Milk Supremacy hype train onto the beat of Manchester Super Red's #1 fan. I could not. It was 1 syllable too short, and I was very upset.
Yeah, how about, like, Hot Wet Milk?
There is no way I will ever. Well, I'm about to do it. But I was about to say, there's no way for a second time I will say the words hot.
Because
wet
doesn't Bill Murray have, like, a Wet Milk album or something?
Yes, I'm proud of you for knowing that. You got the lore.
I just remember seeing that with, like, I've looked through all his dumb song titles for Friends before, because I know he has dumb song names.
Pretty sure you could have guessed that and probably been really accurate.
Yeah, exactly. You just say we're bringing back the dartboard, right? We got the adjective and noun. You throw the dart.
Oh,
and
bringing back the dartboard.
Yep.
My mic was also muted, but I'm on the hype train as well.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Song is really good.
We love the Hot Milk Supremacy hype train here at the Hivemind Radio. Big Hot Milk fans.
Yeah. I found the lyric, by the way, for, like, one of my favorite vocal deliveries of the entire year, with Hannah in the second verse, where she says, "So check my vital signs to see if I am here, brain waves from graves that haunt you and never disappear." Not only is that lyrically fantastic, but the way that she says it is fantastic. I love it. Yeah, Hot Milk Supremacy hype train. That sums it all
For
up.
sure. For sure.
EP coming out in September. I'm hella excited. Hot Milk are making a run for EP of the year contention, to be honest.
Man,
I
wait,
don't know
it's
if
an
there's
EP? I thought it was an album.
It's an EP, yeah.
No. Bands gotta stop doing that, bro. You gotta stop giving me these great singles and then give me EP after EP. The only band that's allowed to do that, bands, are Of Mice and Men, and they're ending in an album, so it doesn't even count, and Too Close to Touch. Hot Milk, drop an album challenge.
Yeah,
I
but you're
want
gonna
it.
bitch in December about
bringing-
having too many albums to listen to.
Dude, I'm already there. What's a couple more? It is what it is. You know what album I don't want to hear?
Tell me about it.
We can never go a month.
Whatever this new single from Solence is on, entitled Indestructible.
Steady, I'm indestructible. I won't let this crush me. Even when the world is
Dude,
I
the
will
Solence-
say-
the Solence Apologist is back, baby. This song ain't half bad. It might be the best of the 4 singles they've dropped so far. Let's
Yes,
go.
I agree. After my malicious attack on Solence, I gotta say, I agree. This is the best single so far. I like this. I like
it.
this.
It
I'm putting
harkens
out
back.
there.
It harkens back to the elements of that debut album, which we were all pretty big fans of.
Will they stick to it? No.
No.
The answer is no.
I don't know. I don't
They
know if
will
you
not.
guys know this, but they're dropping 2 new songs tonight the day we're recording this, so we'll find
They're
out
doing
soon.
what?
They
No.
just posted earlier tonight. They're dropping 2 new songs.
Why? Stop. We want a break. I'm so sick of it, dude. Why would they? Man, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Solence. I'm finding the lead singer of Solence. I'm posting up at his house. I'm challenging him to a duel.
You're gonna go to Sweden?
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to Sweden. I'm posting up and be like, look, you, me, we're throwing hands. If I win, you don't put anything out for the next 3 months.
Have a water gun
Man.
fight.
No, I will throw fisticuffs with the lead singer of Solence. I am issuing a challenge.
Oh no, don't do this.
Dude, we're gonna see. It's gonna be like the good fucking music video. We're gonna see Derek in the background dancing.
Oh my god.
The next video.
We're gonna see Derek in the good fucking music, the remix.
Yeah, dude, all those people on YouTube, all their subs are gonna go in here.
He's gonna be beating
Oh,
up.
shit. Yeah, that's what it's gonna be. It's gonna be like
Beating
a
up the
million
band.
views YouTube video, and it turns out the lead singer is just like completely jacked, and I just get my shit pushed in. And like,
Yo,
that's
Derek,
the next
Derek,
music video.
do you wanna make a bet?
No.
Hear me out.
Hit me with it.
If this Solence album ends up in your top 10 or as an honorable mention, the next time Solence does a music video where they take fan footage, you have to submit yourself for it.
I'll do it.
Wait,
Yeah,
you're not gonna make his top
Jake,
10, though.
Jake, you're
Yeah,
making
that's the
mistake.
point.
You're placing this bet when he knows that Thunder is already on that
yeah,
album.
I'm looking at I'm
He's
looking
looking
at
pretty
Thunder
good right now.
and it's like, man, worst song
It's-
of the year.
It's supposed to be like a 10% odds bet. I'm not expecting it
what?
to happen, but like on the fucking off chance it does, I want it.
Look, man.
It's like he
I'll-
doesn't
Jake,
I'll
you
take
should
you up
not
on
go
that.
to
in
a
the next
casino
I'll take
with
you
a
up on that.
10% odds.
Look, maybe the
I don't plan
next
to.
like 7 or 8 songs or whatever is on this album are gonna be like God's gift to mankind, and suddenly this is my album of the year. Who knows?
gonna be
I could get into a
an
terrible
immense
car
feature.
crash. Yeah. I could get into a terrible car crash and hit my head and hear thunder first thing when I wake up and be like, oh wow, euphoric. Anything could happen.
Remember
Actually,
when
that's
we
a
were going to
lie.
talk
I could
about the
get-
song Indestructible and not go
I
on this
could get
tangent, by
well,
the
look,
way.
okay, the song's okay. There's there's not much to say about it. I would like to speak instead about getting into a boxing match with all the band members of Solence. I've raised the stakes. Oh,
But before
God.
we move on, I do want to make quick mention that I really appreciated the acoustic opening to this song. It felt fresh compared to a lot of what they've done recently.
Yes.
And I also
yes.
thought the chorus was pretty solid compared to some of the other choruses they've had, which have been weak-ish.
Mhm.
Overall, Solence are. I don't directly want to say they're on the up, but like they're doing okay for themselves. Which that just I feel like they're doing more than okay for themselves considering they passed 1 million monthly listeners on Spotify.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
sobering thought.
Yeah.
And
It's 4
honestly,
million
like,
people.
even if we aren't into it, good for them.
Oh,
For
yeah.
sure.
Good for them.
I just wish.
we
wish
just
they'd
want
put
the
out-
Solons that we enjoyed in our lives again.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Bring
all.
'em back.
Someday.
Wait, when was
We,
that?
we aren't.
Fair.
Forgotten year. Long ago.
As I've mentioned in many episodes before, we only feature bands on this podcast that we have enjoyed at one point or another. And like even if
We
Solons hasn't,
did enjoy Solons at one point.
yeah. And I still, as the Solons apologist, I still relatively enjoy most of what Solons is doing.
Somebody has to.
Yeah. Ugh.
Y'all, if I were to get into the ring with the band members of Solons, do you know what song I would want playing in the background as I came out for my entrance?
Indestructible.
No. It's an absolute new banger. From
Inaudible
Lorna Shore.
screeching.
Yes, we love the inaudible screeching here at the Hivemind podcast. Lorna Shore have put out a new single entitled To the Hellfire. I love this. This is like the first time I've heard a Lorna Shore song and revisited it more than like twice.
Deathcore.jpg, moving on.
Man, this is the craziest shit I have ever heard in my life. I enjoy deathcore in like very specific situations, you know, like
Mhm.
every once in a while I'll vibe to it. This is like the first 4 minutes of the song are just like deathcore. Like, I'd be like, okay, like I appreciate it, whatever, you know, it's Lorna Shore. And then you get the guitar solo, followed by the nastiest breakdown I have ever heard in my life. I don't care how many times I go back and listen to that breakdown. I get anxiety. No human should be able to make those noises. It's unfathomable. I feel like I need to go find a priest every time I listen to this song, dude. It's nuts. It's nuts. And this is, for me, one of those songs that really doesn't feel its runtime. It's strange, because the first 4 minutes, like, blend together for a lot of time to me. But at the same time, it's like, oh, I would have guessed that I've been listening for like a minute and a half, 2 minutes, you know? And this is... this is actually, of all the songs, this has taken off on TikTok.
Yes.
Because it's basically metal fans get their like vanilla friends and like lock them in a car and then play the breakdown for them and get their reaction. And you know what? Whatever it takes to get this band their much needed appreciation, because they're sitting at 2.3 million listens to the song in the first month for a band that has just recovered by getting a new vocalist. Will Ramos is a demon. That's
Dude, they made this song and they're like, is this too? They're like, is there such thing as too heavy? And they're like, no,
No.
no.
Dude, I am so scared for the other two songs off this EP. I'm terrified. If this is
Oh,
the
it's an
lead
EP?
one, yeah,
didn't
yeah.
know
There's
that.
3 songs coming, I believe, in August. Dude, oh my good gravy. This is mental.
So, my one gripe with this song is the mix,
Yep.
and it's the vocals are way too low. But honestly, I think everything else is fine. It's just the vocals are too low for me.
Yeah, it's so I found out it was an intentional choice. To
We gotta
fit
like
with,
moths
like,
to flames here.
yeah. Well, like Moths of Flames just goes for metalcore. This was like deathcore going for like a blackened metal feel. You know, like those bands that their name is Swedish and you could never hope in a million years to pronounce it. Like, it doesn't make sense. And there's like, it's like JAGOG and it's like, help. That's the sort of feel that they were going for to kind of give it a more like atmospheric vibe. If the mix was, I'm gonna put it out there, this isn't the right word, but it's the one that comes to mind. If the mix was normal, this would be my song of the month, song of the year, no contest, it's over, pack it up, everybody else, go home. I did not expect to like this as much as I did, and I think it's just because that breakdown is
Dude,
is
it's
crazy.
it's so insane that
Yeah.
it's so good.
I just kind of sit there and I'm like, oh god, did I really just hear that? And that's like on my 40th listen. I'm like, oh, how's he do? Not to mention the drumming's nuts, the instrumentation is nuts. This band is crazy, dude. Everybody is so talented here. There's just so much to love. Ugh.
I want to
2021
go
year of the
back to
death
that
core.
point how you said it was going viral on TikTok by people locking up their friends on a car. I was on vacation last week and I was driving home with my twin sisters in the car and I had control of the Bluetooth speaker.
Oh no, you didn't.
And it
you
crossed.
Didn't do it to
I
them.
didn't do it to them, but it crossed my mind at
Ah.
least 2 or 3 times in that car ride,
Oh,
and
God.
I really almost wish I did it, but I never
That would have
did.
been fantastic.
I never
Oh
did.
man.
Dude, I wanna like sit my mom down and be like, you listen to this.
I did it to my the first day after I heard it. I was like, yo, mom and dad, check this out. It's crazy. And it didn't even get to the like nasty part. They just got to like the first part of the breakdown. They were like, this is awful. This is demonic. And I was like, oh. I was like, yeah, wait till you hear him go like, you know, oh man. Anyway, all that to say that if you haven't heard this, at least go listen to the last like 2 minutes because it's absolutely mental and it's the craziest thing you'll hear in your fucking life.
I also want to mention I have not been able to get myself to listen to this entire song fully through.
Oh, have you
I-
listened to the end though, right?
Yeah, I listened to the end, but I have not been able to sit down and listen to the full thing. I can't. Deathcore is too much for
He's
me.
not
I
strong
can't.
enough.
I am not strong enough. I am only so strong.
I gotta highlight the punch when he's like, oh, what does he say? It's hard to remember what he says because it's so hard to understand.
Are you talking about in the
Um,
last breakdown?
Yeah, where he's like,
Is it
he passed through the gate, and the punch that on I think he says, I think it's gate. I gotta figure it out.
There's something in the last breakdown.
Yeah, he's
where
like, I
it's
passed through the fucking gate. That's what he says.
Yeah. The fucking gate. I thought it was just. I thought that was just him going fuck it, and then the bree afterwards. Like, that's what I thought it was. Apparently, it's actual words. Go figure. Man, I love me a good song where I can't understand shit. Envied by Angels have a new song out entitled Ruin.
Justin, it's your podcast, darling.
Yeah, one of them. This is not as good as Foe, but it's still pretty good. It's melodic post-hardcore at its
It's
finest.
pho. I'm just kidding.
What? You're Canadian. You're not allowed to speak English.
I'm glad Derek got that.
I mean,
It took me a second to
Hold on.
understand what you said for a second.
He muted himself.
We broke Derek.exe.
This is probably a this is probably a good explanation of the vocalist range in between like the heavier side that he can do and like the softer side. But I still feel like Foe had like a better instrumentation. This kind of has like a one theme that just goes all throughout it. But it has a good breakdown, I guess. And the entire song is just catchy to listen to. So it's melodic post-hardcore at its finest.
I still can't get into the uncleans of this band. That's the one thing holding me back. Like
That's fine.
there's a lot of good going on, but it's just not. It's close,
Mhm.
but
I'd say if it wasn't the one of the more underlying things of this song, like it wasn't a bridge into the chorus a lot, I feel like the song would be a little bit better and give that unclean a bit more room to breathe to kind of be more of a surprise when the breakdown actually does happen. But
well, real quick, does anybody got anything more to say about this?
that's all I got.
Because I want to talk about some more good post-hardcore. Yet another podcast darling. We got Landless with their new single, Waves.
I believe I can feel the toxic.
I like to hear that you say this is good post-hardcore.
I like Landless. I really
Yeah.
do.
This song definitely impressed me on what they could do.
Is this your favorite Landless song, Derek?
I'm gonna say it's
Between-
tied. I'm
yeah.
tied with Borrowed Time.
Okay.
I'm talking Nobody actually.
This is the weakest one in my opinion.
Oh.
What?
I really enjoyed Nobody in Borrowed Time, but this one, the chorus just doesn't hit for me. It's very different. It lacks energy, so it doesn't hit, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it doesn't get me invested into the song. I feel like I might need to hear it in context of a bigger release to fully appreciate this song.
I'm sorry, I gotta mention this again. With a title like Waves and Landless, I think of Team Aqua.
Yeah, when are they gonna rebrand? Can we get a rebrand? Who's contacting the band? Oh, that shit's so funny. Dude, that would be funny to have a Team Aqua like concept album, or they like all come out on stage dressed like Team Aqua.
He's got the big chain with the anchor.
Oh yeah.
And they're running on borrowed time before Kyogre grounds the entire world. And then nobody will be alive.
When are we? They need sealess or like waterless or something like that to counteract this band, and then they can just fight each other. They can fight each other. That's what it'll be. That'll be the main event, and then me fighting all the band members from Solence will be the halftime event as they're duking it out. Yeah, this is really good. This band definitely remind me again, EP or album that all these are coming out on.
I believe an EP.
It is an EP. I
Man,
forget
stop.
what they stated.
Can these bands start giving us albums instead? I know I said it with Hot Milk, but like, I'm at the point where like I'm convinced by the material and I want more. So getting an EP instead of an album almost feels like a tease, you know. All that to say that I'm pretty high on this, and whatever comes out, even if it is an EP, very excited for it.
I think we should move on. Then.
I was gonna say, yeah, in the same vein of a Memphis May Fire for a band who is back, kinda. Bullet for My Valentine have released a new single entitled Knives.
Provoking this madness, bring out the knives to cut and divide another skillful memory. Bring out the knives.
Which
This
I
is
believe.
The
Oh,
most
go ahead.
inconsistent band. Oh my god.
Okay, so in you saying they're inconsistent.
I'm saying this is really good, and the last stuff was really bad.
Oh, I'm the opposite. I really don't like this. I
I'm
think this
very
kinda sucks.
indifferent on this. It's fine. It's not something I really have too much desire to go back to. Shrug. I also want to make a note that this is my first exposure to this band.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, Jake.
This is one of the big
Are you
ones I
guys
have
shocked
been...
at this point?
This is one of the big ones that I have been missing out on for years at this point. Bullet for
Debatable
My
on missing out
Valentine
on.
are a band that has just flew under the radar for me and never ended up listening to them ever.
This band is like they release one good album, then one really bad album, then a good album, then a bad album. And right now,
Venom's iconic.
yeah, Venom's the good one, and then whatever the last one was called, I don't even remember.
Gravity.
Gravity
I liked
was
it,
trash.
personally.
So that means this one's gonna be good, right?
Knives has not sold me on that concept, but if it sticks true to the pattern, we'll see. Oh, they're gonna be on September 11th. They're gonna be performing in Stadium Weiner
What?
in Germany. See that? Like, it's always like the trip of like, "What's up, Seattle?" You know.
Sup, Wiener?
What's up, Wiener? Oh god. Oh man. Yeah, you guys going to Weiner to see Bullet for My Valentine? Yeah, bro, can't wait to see you at Weiner. Oh, fuck me. Oh god.
Derek,
Anyway,
are you
this is-
okay?
No, it's been a long week. This is attached to an album.
It's only Thursday.
We'll see. Yup, I said what I said. Oh man, you were high on this single, but how
It's
are
not
you
my
feeling?
it's not my favorite Bullet song, but
Bro, I'm trying to
it's still pretty
transition.
good.
You just gotta go.
Oh,
with it.
sorry.
It's like- how did you feel about the new single from Sleep Token entitled Alkaline?
Banger.
Banger. Justin?
I'm intrigued by it. I didn't give it enough listen.
That's not banger, Justin. What the fuck?
Oh,
Banger, Justin.
dude, I think this is my most played song this month.
I respect it.
It's one of mine.
This
I
took
was-
me a bit to fully grow, but once it hit, it fucking hit.
I don't know what changed because I listened to Sundowning in 2019 when it came out, and I thought that the
2018?
band's what?
I think it's 2018, no?
No, I thought isn't it?
I don't think so.
2019.
Okay, sorry.
Sundowning? Yeah, Jacob.
Sorry.
Know your place.
Sorry.
Yo, okay, yo, the Canadian in him is really coming out right now.
Sorry.
Sorry, guys. No, and I wasn't super intrigued by like Sundowning when I first heard it. I mean, like, well, intrigue's not the right word because I was actually very intrigued by the concept of the band and like the way that they structured it and how they sounded, but like it wasn't clicking with me. This clicked with me like instantly.
Yeah.
It's so good. I think my favorite part is the background like light airy vocal runs that go on in the background, you know? Especially during the breakdown. I think the first transition where the guitars really kick in and then the breakdown are my two favorite parts of the
Yeah,
song.
that transition into the guitars is sick. It's so good.
Let's talk about
Yep.
Man, I suddenly my hype level for this band went from like
Dude,
the floor to
this
the
is-
ceiling.
This is the first song I heard from them. Like my friend, shout out Christian, my friend. He's like, you should check out this band. They're really weird, but they're really good. So and now I have played this song and I've played Sundowning on repeat all for like a good 2 weeks. It was like the only thing I was listening to.
I went back to Sundowning after hearing this because I was wondering if it'd be one of those things where it's like, oh, this song clicks with me and now the rest of the band clicks with me, you know? Wasn't the case. I didn't find anything off Sundowning that I super
I
stuck
put
with,
the-
which is weird.
I've never done this before, but I put the whole album in my playlist.
Damn. Oh yeah, I can see it now. I'm envisioning end of year. This is gonna be #1 album.
Can I ask you guys something? I need you guys to go to right before the breakdown in the song
Mm-hmm.
and tell me if it sounds like the Lavender Town music. Sorry for all the Pokemon references, but I need to know.
I cannot do your experiment because I am recording.
All right, I'll do your experiment right before the breakdown, right?
Yes. Around 250.
Yeah, I'm going for it. Damn it, I'm not gonna be able to unhear that now. I'm so sad.
I haven't heard it, but I don't think I'll be able to unhear it now either. Probably.
It sounds like slightly sped up, but yeah.
Yeah. Dude, this band is so intriguing.
They are, and nobody knew. Well, I guess some people have figured it out, but they're like not sharing who it is, like hiding their identities and stuff from the public.
Kind of like Ghost, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, there's just so much to unpack with this band, especially in this song too, and it's all good things. I suddenly my hype level for this band and like my expectations. Like I feel like there's been a lot of artists this year where it's like going into the year, if you told me, hey, you're gonna be really, really excited for a Sleep Token album this year, I'd have been like, man, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Now,
Real shit.
I'm so excited.
You and me.
And I
both.
found this band when the single came out. I don't know when it was, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, right?
Yeah, man. Oh, good shit. Speaking
Of the
of
good shit.
yes, sir. Grandson has teamed up with Jesse Reyes to put out a new single, Rain, that will be appearing on the new Suicide Squad movie.
Let me sum up my thoughts on this song in 2 sentences. On my first listen, I was like, this could be his weakest song since, like, the pre-Death of an Optimist era. Basically saying that, like, everything on Death of an Optimist is better than this song. I wasn't very high on it. So, I didn't even give it a second chance until, like, later that night. I listened to it that second time. I do not mind the rain sometimes!
I am solidified that we need Jake on vocals for the Hivemind band. I think that
I don't know, man. He can't count his sentences.
with the peaking
sentences.
mic and everything.
Oh yeah, we keep the peaking mic. Oh god.
That chorus, it gets you. It gets you. It didn't get me at first, but it gets you eventually.
Even I had the exact same experience because mine sold me on the second listen as well. And I think actually the defining moment for me is the guitar solo. I really
it's a good
like
guitar solo.
You know what's weird for me is I got sold on the first one, and I'm like the least grandson fan here.
You'll like to see it. I feel like there's a lot of like I'm pleasantly surprised with some of your guys' opinions on these songs that I wasn't sure you were going to be into.
Cannot believe you just said pleasantly surprised. We've been over this. It's banned. It's banned.
You said it's our episode 10 last one. That shit.
It's banned for a month.
Yeah.
Which band?
Oh, yeah.
Stop.
That's it for me,
Get some
guys.
help.
I'm gonna I'll be seeing you.
I wanna count how many times we see band in an episode.
Yup.
Add 1
Yeah.
for that.
Jessie Reyes is an interesting collaboration. I've only ever heard her song Promises with I believe it's Sam Smith.
I know
Who
nothing
has
about Jessie Reyes other than she's
8
on this song.
gajillion hits. I'm pretty sure, and don't quote me on it, but she like did a lot of collaborations for some like collaboration project a couple years back that was either supposed to raise money for activism or for like natural disaster relief. I don't know. But it's not a name I'd heard in a long time, but I really enjoy her feature on this. This is probably a top 3 grandson song for me. Very
Also, no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm much higher on it than I anticipated.
Well, I was gonna say, why are they making another Suicide Squad movie?
Who knows?
Money.
Yeah, well,
It
yeah,
wasn't-
actually, we know.
As the big grandson fan here, this is like maybe a top 10 grandson song for me. I don't know. I'd really have to go and make a list because grandson's like one of my top 3 favorite artists all time. So like putting it in the top 10 songs of his, that's like a really tough bar to reach for me. But I think it could be there. It could. It'd be on the lower end though, probably. There are so many grandson bangers that have stuck with me throughout the years. So.
Now, Jake, would you say that you've been playing this song again and again?
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy how that works, because Against the Current have their, I believe, 3rd single off their upcoming EP, and the song is entitled Again and Again, featuring Garden.
Another EP.
If you told me Against the Current were going to be dropping EP of the fucking year at the start of 2021, I would not have believed you. After this song, I am a believer. This is my favorite song of the month. It's not close. This is going to be my favorite song of the summer, and it is not going to be close.
Tell him.
Hang on.
This song is unreal. I listened to it on repeat for an hour straight the night it came out, pretty much. And I don't think that has happened to me since Dream State dropped Primrose in 2019. This song hooked me from first listen like almost no other song has this year, and it has only gotten better the more I listen to it. Chrissy's vocals, outstanding. As per usual, to be honest, given That Won't Save Us and Weapon were also fantastic. But what I really think separates this song from the rest is the drumming. The drumming in this song keeps pace so well.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I almost want to say that the drumming is better than Chrissy's vocals, because it might be a hot take, but the drumming in the song is fantastic. There are very few songs where the drums stick out to me this much, but they really do stick out. And I think the defining moment of that is in the final chorus when there's that little drum pause for like a split second before and whatever the second half of the chorus is. It's just so good. It is hard for me to fully put into words how incredible I think this song is.
If you would have told me there'd be a Garden feature on an Against the Current song, I would not have believed you. I would not have. I never in a million years would I have anticipated that collaboration.
It's crazy that I spent so much time praising the song and I didn't even mention the feature.
I mean,
Wow.
Garden.
The feature is my favorite part.
Garden's
It's
my
so
favorite
good.
artist, like currently, like even surpassing Dance Gavin Dance, which is like nuts.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know.
If you guys don't know Derek, that is very high praise.
The man that owns 7 Afterburner vinyls.
Yeah. God, is it 7? I thought it was 8. Whatever.
Alright, well, I might have missed one then.
Yeah, between that song we talked about last month with Little Lotus, Romantic Disaster, that featured Chrissy, and now them featuring Garden, it's this weird, like, pop rock, emo rap crossover, and I am living for it.
Nothing
I mean,
Nowhere
'cause
St. Atlantic too, earlier this year.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, man. I'm so excited. This year's been so good for music, and this for me is a top 3. Yeah, top 3.
I knew this was one of the top 5. I just wasn't sure where it was gonna rank.
This is my number 3.
So
yeah,
we've had 1, 3, and like 5 so far.
we've had
4?
1, 3, 4, and 5.
So yeah, we're just missing number 2 at this point. I wonder what it's gonna
I wonder
be.
what it could be. Yeah, I just like you. I couldn't put it down the night it came out, and I found myself constantly wanting to revisit it, like the title track would suggest, again and again. Just because it's so catchy, it's so replayable. There's so much to love here. I'm a little upset that it's only on an EP, but there's also another 7-track EP that's coming out after this one comes out, which I think is happening later this year. So.
It's not like a full low blow. It's just a little low blow.
We're still getting the amount of tracks you would in a full album. It's just a little split up, which is what it is. I don't know why they would make that choice, but I feel like it'll be evident to us once.
Especially for a band of their size, you feel like they would just be doing albums.
I've got faith in them. I got faith in them that this is the right artistic choice.
They obviously know what they're doing. So, I also just want to make note that I got my sister singing along to the song within like 3 days of playing it in the car. Good. So like that's how you know banger.
Deserved.
Let's move on then. We said enough. We got a new band once again. Enemy are back with a new song. Well, not back. Enemy are here with a brand new song called Deceiver.
After you excluded them when Lost was out because we had too many singles when that came out, I'm glad to see this band in the podcast finally, because this shit rocks.
This is my second favorite song of theirs. When you sent me Lost, it didn't really do much for me. It still doesn't really do much for me. But I gave the rest of their discography a chance, and Never Enough and Never Healing both really stuck with me. And then this comes out, and it's up there with those two as just really, really solid material from a band that I feel like should be like labeled as like a small up-and-comer, but their numbers are doing pretty good for themselves already.
Oh yeah, they're doing wonderful for numbers. Over about 77,000 monthly listeners with just 6 singles, mind you. They're doing a lot of good work when it comes to the advertising and stuff. And same as you, honestly. Lost was really good because of recency bias to me. When I went back and listened to it after this one came out, I wasn't too high on it as I was. Never Enough man, that's still a
Never
really
enough
good song.
bangs. Never enough bangs.
It's really good, especially that breakdown. But Deceiver just leans in. This is I was thinking about this in the car, on the way back home, and I was like, man, Enemy is just a heavier Divide the Fall.
Yeah,
They really are.
and better in most cases, I would say.
I would argue that they have their own merits, but
Yeah.
in this particular instance, like the heavier nature, man, it hits hard, and you don't really expect it from this band, especially looking at their all the singles that they've released this year. I don't know if it's attached to anything. I would expect maybe like an EP at the very least, but it might just be a single release.
I feel like we might be on an EP train starting with this one, because this might be a weird judgment or connection to make. But this was the first song of theirs to get a proper music video. So I feel like maybe that's an indication of something. But that's really just like grasping at straws to see what this band has for the future. Either way, I'm fully on board with this band now.
Good. Because they got some good shit.
Yeah.
And speaking of the good channel, Jacob, do you have anything?
Oh, no.
Yeah, speaking of the good shit, fucking Caskets, releasing their opener for their album Lost Souls coming out next month. The Only Ones.
To me. You are the only one. You are the only one who understood the pain.
This band doesn't miss.
This band does not miss.
They don't fucking miss.
I think this is the weakest single, but it's still really good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna echo that, really.
I think it's better than Lost in Echoes, but
I will disagree there.
it's definitely weaker than Glass Heart, because Glass Heart is just fucking incredible.
I think Lost in Echoes has a little bit more emotion than The Only Ones, but The Only Ones, knowing it's an opener, I feel like gives it a little bit more of a break, because it's not supposed to be the end-all song to then have the album just kind of deteriorate from that. It's supposed to kind of lead you into the album. And
I have been going back to this song with the mindset of like the opener energy, and this song has strong opener energy the more I listen
easily.
to it. I don't know how to explain it, but the opening riff has a positive, happy kind of vibe to it. Like, it feels like you're like almost like you're flying through the clouds almost, and it's like one of those hype scenes in like a video game or wherever, where like it's all building up to this, and like that's what the opening riff feels like for me. And it's just powerful. I feel like it's gonna work so well when I hear that full album. But even on its own, it's a fantastic opener to the song. And the rest of the song is fantastic as well, but really that opening, probably my favorite part of the entire song.
I was just looking back at the track list, and this leads into Glass Heart, and I feel like the ending, like the last couple seconds of the song, may seamlessly lead into Glass Heart.
God, if that happens.
On the album.
If that happens, bro.
Oh,
I've said it before, I'll say it again. If there's any band to make a run for the throne of my album of the year to dethrone Normandy at the moment, it would be Caskets, and it still is Caskets at this point.
They're
They're
making some really
making
good
a
work.
goddamn run. Yeah.
The song as well also doesn't feel like 5 minutes.
I think, yeah.
I judged
I feel
the
like it
time.
kind of does, but at the same time it doesn't, because it has like a 30 to 40 second fade out at the end.
Plus, like the instrumentals probably goes on for about another 30 seconds. So if you were to cut both of those out, maybe, a good 4 minutes, 3:45. But honestly, man, it's Caskets. You're gonna listen to the full song.
Yeah. I do want to make note again that Caskets, they know how to nail the bridge. Like very few bands know how to nail the bridge of a song. The bridge, like outside of the opening, the bridge is my favorite part of the song, as it was with Lost in Echoes. I feel like the verses and the chorus are fine, but they don't feel like they're doing anything different from what I could get out of Glass Heart, and I feel like Glass Heart does it better. But I also feel like this song is not trying to be Glass Heart, so
No.
fair enough. It's for what it is trying to be, it is fantastic.
that's, with these singles in mind. One, I don't know if we're gonna get another single this month, July, with the album next month and it being 11 tracks. Two, what other shit are they gonna surprise us with on this album?
Yeah, I don't
That's
know.
I'm excited for it. It's only a month and
Very
like
excited.
5 days away.
Yep. If you aren't on the Caskets hype train yet, there's still time. There's still time to join it. Alrighty then, we got Hollow City are back again with a brand new single called Look at Me. Following up, All My Friends Take Medicine, which we talked about back in April, I think that song is far superior to this one, but by no means is this song terrible. I enjoyed it. It's just, it kind of fell through the cracks of the amount of releases that came on the last week of June. I feel like this song releases a different week, and I'm probably speaking a lot higher on it, but due to the immense amount of material that released in the final week of June, as I said, it fell through the cracks. You get a lot of the same formula that made All My Friends Take Medicine good in this song. I feel like you lean a little bit more into the heavier vocals at times here, but it doesn't have that super catchy moment, that hook, like All My Friends Take Medicine had, where the chorus in their previous single kept me coming back time and time again, whereas this one, all the elements are there. The formula isn't drastically different. It just doesn't hook me in the same way.
Yeah, I'm sitting kind of on the fence on this one, where it's like, it's good, and I like it, but I don't love it, and I want to.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, I hear this song, and it to me screams, this is a song I want to love. Why isn't it clicking? And I can't get it to.
Yeah.
I don't know what's holding it back, but yeah. I don't know. We'll see. Now, I know I've asked this question like 8 million times. Is this attached to anything, or are they just putting a bunch of different...
I feel like this
singles
is... I don't think it's released yet, if it's an album or an EP. But they're definitely building up to something.
I hope
That
so.
doesn't answer your question, does it?
No, it doesn't. It does. Not at all, actually. In no way. In fact, does it answer my question. But, we'll see. Maybe. Yeah. Fingers crossed.
This song is weaker than their previous single, but I'm still very excited to see what they can do in the future. Let's talk about Lotus Eater and their brand new song, Obliterate, featuring Ollie Sykes of Bring Me the Horizon. Hello, this is Editing Jake here. I just want to make note that we recorded this episode before any of the allegations came out against the vocalist of this band, so we were not aware of it at the time of this discussion.
Derek, I want to hear what you have to say about this one.
I don't like it. I don't know if that was the reaction that you wanted.
Sad Jacob noises in the background.
Yeah.
Well, see, I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's not something I would actively go back to. I think the hook with Ollie is very... I like the hook, but it's very repetitive and...
Yeah, it's an interesting song. It reminds me a lot of, like... Not that it sounds the same, but it's the same sort of thing as maybe like a Kublai Khan, where you are just getting constantly, like, beat down upon, and you either like it or you don't. For me, I'm an Ollie Sykes fan, right? I like the Ollie Sykes. Lotus Eater, to me, I lump them in, and this is, I don't know how fair of a comparison this is to make, but I lump them in with a band like Cane Hill, where I appreciate what they're doing. I think their members are talented. Their sound is not for me.
Yeah.
I think is what it comes down to.
I would agree with that.
I don't have enough of a background with this band to make that evaluation, honestly, but this sound is not entirely for me either.
Honestly, Jake, this is the first song I've listened to. Like, the only other thing I've listened to is the feature on the I don't even remember what song it was. It was the really long one, wasn't it?
Yeah,
That
was
to
like
listen to.
17 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard a couple singles here and there, and it's not that I'm not impressed is not the term to use, because the band members are very obviously talented and good at what they do. I'm just not as much interested. I think that getting the Ollie feature and putting it as a lead single is a great way for people to
Yes.
find your band and listen to the album that this will be attached to.
This is coming off of an album.
Um,
Yeah, you
yes,
just said that.
yes.
I had that in my
Yep.
mind. Like, is this coming off of
Keep
an
up,
album?
Jake.
And then
You can do it.
I literally started saying that as you said, it's coming off an album. Timing.
I'm still on the fence about whether or not I will be checking out this album. I think I need another single or two to give me a better idea. You know.
I just want to add, we got the Count Your Blessings Ollie voice in this song.
Yes.
Very
We got heavy
briefly,
on
but
it.
we did get it.
There's still a
The
glimmer of
very-
hope.
Well, I don't really want them to go like that, but it'd be nice to see it here and there
Mm-hmm.
in Bring Me's music.
I don't know if there's much more to add. So let's move on then, because we got a banger coming up. I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah.
Make Them Suffer
Banger.
have released a brand new song called Contraband, featuring Courtney of Spirit Box. This is number 2.
This is number 2. This is so number 2. Oh.
This is
God.
probably my number
This-
4.
Ooh, I don't know. This is close with Alkaline.
I'm gonna.
Point being, this song fucks.
I'm gonna take a look at my main playlist real quick before I make interesting. I think. Well, no, I can't say that. It's a top 5 metalcore song of the year for me. I think, just like in general this year, not just this month. I really, 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 really enjoy what's going on here, especially. I think the repetition in the verses is really what sells me. Like, I feel like it makes it go harder. You know, that we have Sean on one verse and Courtney on essentially the same verse afterwards. I don't know if I'm alone here. I didn't like the chorus until a few days ago. I was like,
I
adamant.
love
The
I love
chorus
the whole
hooked me day
song.
one. The chorus hooked me day one, yeah.
I guess I'm alone. I was like adamant that the song would be better without a chorus. And it wasn't. I think it's just because there's no real transition into it. It just kind of hits you abruptly. I learned to. It was sort of the same thing as that ending to that one secret song. The Name is Secrets by Slaves. Where we had that abrupt end and it was like off-putting, you know, for a little bit, and then like eventually got used to it. I feel like that's how I was with the
Oh, it wasn't
chorus in the
off-putting
song.
for me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it
feel-
was
I
just something.
The way the chorus works in the song feels very similar to Erase Me, and should it come as no surprise that Erase Me and Contraband are my favorite 2 Make Them Suffer songs, given that? Probably not.
It's just my favorite Make Them Suffer song. It's not even close.
It would be a
I
coin
don't
flip for
know.
me between Contraband
Yeah,
and Erase Me. Like, depending on the day, you'll get a different answer.
Dude,
We'll
I
see,
just
though.
want to call out all the reaction YouTubers mistaking Booka as
Yep.
as Courtney.
Infuriating.
It's so annoying.
Man, I will say, I think that in terms of having her on for a verse, doing backing vocals in the final breakdown, Courtney was really well utilized.
Yes.
I don't feel like this song has let me down in any way, but I almost feel like I want Courtney cleans. You know? Like, it's sort of the same thing where, like, with a Roy Rodriguez of Dayseeker feature, where it's like, you have a man who can do beautiful cleans and fantastic uncleans. If you have him in a feature that has both those things already, I want him to do both those things. It's almost the same way for me with Courtney. It's not like I feel like anything is detracted from the song or like something's missing per se, but
Kind of like what was that Shrezzer's song? With
whatever with Lucas
yeah.
Magyar, yeah.
But I think that's not a fair comparison because
Yeah, true, 'cause this song is so much better. Yeah, I don't know. I almost would have liked a maybe like the second chorus them to do like a harmonized type thing. Maybe they've got different ranges and it just wouldn't sound as good.
Dude,
I don't know.
The breakdown after Courtney says go. Oh,
Yeah, I had an audible holy
Groovy.
fuck. I had an audible holy fuck when I heard that the first time.
Groovy.
Yeah, can we just make note of like the guitar work in this song just in general because we haven't mentioned it yet? The guitars in this song are crazy.
Yeah, this to me is make them suffer at their peak.
Yeah.
This is definitely a great way to tide people over here. God, was this actually? Now I want to look at that. That album came out last June, didn't it?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Wonder it came out on. All right, hold on. I have to look on my phone. I want to see if it was a year to the day.
I don't think it was.
I probably not,
close.
but I wanna find out anyway.
I think my
I-
last point on this song, while you find the date,
Mhm.
Make Them Suffer are never going to be my favorite metalcore band. I feel like they are always going to be a little inconsistent for me, just because a lot of that album last year didn't really click for me, and I don't think that's going to change. But Make Them Suffer know how to make a hit song, and this
Mhm.
is exactly that. They don't always hit for me, but when they do, they hit hard.
Just a follow up, by the way, it didn't. It was 6 days apart. This came out on the 25th. The album came out on the 19th. I'm sad. I was hoping. I had my fingers crossed.
Anyway, let's move on then. We got a couple more singles before we are onto our EPs and albums for this episode. Paul Bartolome is back with a brand new single, Medicine. And once again, Paul Bartolome is being criminally underrated.
I don't know what happened between the release of Screaming Through the Radio and these singles, excluding the one he did with the vocalist of Asking Alexandria. But Medicine and Time Bomb have just been out of this world for what he normally
I think
produces.
even the Criminal with Danny Larson,
Criminal.
that song's
That's
really
right.
good too. Like,
Yeah, it's really good. I feel like that didn't use a lot of Danny, which is probably why I didn't really, think of it. I thought of it more back on his Screaming Through the Radio stuff, where a lot of the features just weren't used a lot. But this song where he's actually able to use his vocals really well and be like actually the main focal point of the song, he knocks it out of the park.
this is his first song in a while without a feature, which is interesting to note.
Still just as good.
Yeah, for sure. I just want to take a moment to appreciate the opening to this song, because it is unlike anything I have heard in a while. I think like the closest thing I can compare it to is the opener for Lock Me Up by Paloma. That's like the closest comparison, and even then it's a little bit of a stretch. But the way this song opens with the very faint like drum beat, and then you get the acoustic guitar, and then you get into a little guitar solo, it builds so well, and I really wish that it hit into some sort of like a riff for like just a little bit, maybe like 10-15 seconds before you get into the first verse. Just going from that riff is so sick, and then just kind of fading into the verse really feels like you're missing out on something powerful there.
His vocals are a bit toned down during the verses. Kind of reminds me a bit of Armageddon from
Awake at Last.
Awake at Last. Thank you. It reminds me of that, where the vocals for those verses were a bit muted, and then the chorus really boosted them up quite a bit. And this one in particular, I feel like that does really well. The chorus is easily my favorite part.
Yeah, the
It's
chorus
very
is huge.
catchy.
I think the fact that the verses are a little bit lower in his register, where they are not as there isn't as much range in them, I think it makes the chorus hit that much harder.
Oh, easily.
Another fantastic song. I don't know what's going on with like the marketing or whatever, because I feel like I've said it every single time prior. He's working with some very talented vocalists and getting none of the recognition for it, and I don't know why.
Yeah, he's just a really good producer. I think that's how he knows a lot of good vocalists. Because even on his debut album, like he had Telly Smith. He had Philip on there.
Couple other
Craig
people.
Mabbitt.
Yep.
Like, he had a lot of good names on there.
Mhm.
Oh
Um,
shit! Matt Good produced this.
Yeah, I think that is that his brother. No, his brother was David Bartolome. They had a song on screaming through the radio.
No. Matt Good's from First to Last,
Oh, that's right.
which was oh god, it's that one that Skrillex is in. So that'll do it.
Yeah, that's explaining.
Real quick, I just wanted to mention too, we've said before that we thought that he deserved a bit more recognition from where he was at. When we said that, he was sitting at 23,000 monthly listeners. He's now up to almost 40,000. So
Oh yeah.
making some
Gains.
leaps and bounds.
And
I like to see it.
the album or the single covers for this definitely is probably echoing at like a album release probably sometime early next year.
Maybe late this year, but
And speaking of doing great things, Painting Promises are back with the new
they are
single.
back. This is the first time they're on the podcast. Somehow, some way.
They are back as a band, first time here with a new single, Chasing Shadows.
What it's worth, I forgive you. But what if it's not enough to forgive?
This is one of those bands that I'm almost surprised it took us this long to talk about them on the podcast. But they've just gone quiet.
When did Wait come out?
That was February of last year. We started this
that's
podcast in March, so we
Of
just
course.
barely missed Wait, which is such a shame.
I think we may have mentioned them a couple times, but yeah,
Maybe,
this is
I don't
good.
know. Yeah, Painting Promises. The dude has such a unique voice. I feel like it's very high pitched, almost Kellen Quinn-esque. Which is a comparison that I hadn't made until literally 5 seconds ago, but it actually really works in my head. But
I feel
yeah,
like-
it's like
I feel like him and Kellen Quinn could be like replacing one another in each other's bands. It'd be almost nigh recognizable.
I feel like you'd be able to recognize it. Kellen Quinn has such an iconic voice, but
Maybe. Who knows?
either way, just a really solid song for them. Wait is still by far my favorite of theirs. That song is incredible lyrically. It has stuck with me over the past year and then some. This song hasn't stuck with me to the same degree, but by no means is it a bad song. This band is incredibly talented for being as small and as on the up and up as they are.
Derek, Jacob, any thoughts?
I didn't remember much about their single from last year, so I had I guess tempered expectations going into listening to this, and I am pleasantly surprised. And I got to say that I actually really did enjoy this, and now I am excited for future Painting Promises material.
You like to see it.
One of those bands where I remember their name floating around, and I'd been meaning to get around to it. I think their 2019 album is in my long list of like old stuff that hadn't come out this year to go check out. But may have to expedite that process now that I've heard this single. I very much enjoyed it.
I do think Wait and this song are probably their two strongest songs compared to that debut album or EP or whatever you want to call it. There's good material there, but I really think they have started to level up in recent time. With all that being said, I don't know if there's too much more to be said. The Fences
Just
are
say
back with a brand new song called Say It.
Say it, spit it out. Say that I was just a phase, and you're over it now. Why am I let down by myself?
I'm wondering which one of you fuckers would say it. I'm not surprised it was Jacob.
You did.
You did just
Yeah,
You
now.
you
just
did.
said it.
I also just did, yeah.
Thanks for owning up to your mistake.
Hey, it wasn't a
Joe.
mistake. Don't listen to him.
Anyway, I know we weren't terribly high on Something More as a single, which we talked about a few months ago. I'm also not terribly high on this, but it is definitely a step in the right direction in comparison. It is more in the vein of what I want out of this band, what I really enjoyed off of that EP from last year. I think the contrast between her vocals and the Unclean vocals, there's a very nice contrast that plays, especially in the chorus where they harmonize on Say It, Spit It Out. I really enjoyed that piece. But compared to the material that I really enjoyed off that EP last year, something's not clicking with these recent singles, and I can't exactly say what it is. I still enjoyed this song. It's just missing. It's missing a full piece of the puzzle to really keep me coming back. Yeah, that harmony on "Say It, Spit It Out" in the chorus is really cool. I really enjoy that, but it's not enough to keep me coming back to it consistently.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo what you mentioned. I don't know what's missing for me, I guess, but I think, like you said, this is a step in the right direction for them, miles better than that last single. This is one of those bands where I want to like them, and so I'm going to continue listening to them until something clicks. Like, that's just where I'm sitting. I'm waiting for that one moment where something's going to, because it's so close, it's on the edge. And this single wasn't the one to do it, but I have no doubt that this band will be able to do it sometime in the future.
I don't know if there's too much more to say about it. So, we got 3 more songs left before we get into our EPs for the month. The Score are back with a brand new song called Victorious.
Take it away, Jake.
Yep.
That sounded so unenthusiastic.
The Score are back after a bit of a disappointing album last year, and as probably the biggest fan of this band here, I still really enjoyed this song. But it's not of the caliber that I know they're capable of. And I really think that they are drifting away from the original sound that made me fall in love with this band. And I'm not gonna give up hope. I don't think I ever will, to be honest. His voice is too good for me to ever pass it up, like, even if they are changing more towards like an alt pop direction. But I really am starting to miss the alternative rock sounds that made me love Atlas as one of my favorite albums of all time. And it really feels like it's drifting away. And I don't want it to, but if that's the direction they're going in, I'm still going to support it because I still really enjoy what they're putting out. But it's going to miss that, like, peak potential that I know this band has, for me. And other than that, I don't really have too much more to say.
I think the chorus is alright. Like, I don't think it's anything extraordinary, but I enjoyed the chorus a little bit.
There was actually, that just reminded me, this song has, at the end of the chorus, it starts teasing you into like an EDM drop. And the first chorus, it just fades into the second verse instead of giving you the drop.
Yeah.
But then the second chorus, they give you the drop. Now, whether they were doing that to avoid being repetitive or not, I don't know. But I really feel like putting that drop on both the first and second chorus would make this song a little better. Because it really feels like a bit of a letdown to tease up that electronic drop and then to just go into the next verse. It really feels like it's missing.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by that album last year. I found at least some things to enjoy, which I hadn't before from the band, and this is a step for me in the wrong direction. It's not my vibe. I've come to terms with it. I mentioned how with Defenses, I was waiting for that one song to click for me with the band and make everything fall into place. This, I've unfortunately just accepted that that's not going to happen, and it is what it is, I tried. It is not for a lack of trying.
Yeah. There's one last point that I want to make, and I don't know for certain, but on Spotify, this is an independent release. So I don't know if they have parted ways with their record label that they have been on since the start, or not. Because they haven't announced that they are independent now, but it's not attached to a record label on Spotify, and I wonder if that's a sign of something. Either, I don't know if there's much to gain from that. That's more so just a statement. But it's something that I thought was interesting enough to at least bring up and consider.
We'll see as time goes on whether or not that reflects in, because I know labels sometimes will give a band their producer and everything, so I'm wondering if that'll impact the sound of the music going forward. Maybe there's label restrictions, maybe their contract was up, they didn't want to renew. I imagine if they put out a full something or other, they'll do some sort of announcement.
Yeah.
Something along those lines.
What curly were they with?
I think Republic Records. They were on a pretty big label.
Yeah.
That
On their
was, yeah,
website
Republic
that
Records.
was recently updated. It has the get email updates from Republic Records. So this is probably an independent release, just in general, not just because they may have left a record or anything. Just self-produced.
Could be, yeah. I don't know. We'll see. We got 2 more songs to talk about. From Ashes to New dropped Quarantine Chronicles Volume 1 with a brand new single, Enough. I thought this was a bit of a strange EP release, considering that it was 1 new song, 2 covers, a song from their album last year with a new feature, and then just another song from one of their older albums. It's a weird mesh of stuff.
Sounds like Escape the Fate.
It's a very weird mesh of older stuff. But I did want to bring note to Enough as being a new original song that hasn't appeared anywhere else. I think it's solid. I don't think it's like a mid-table From Ashes to New song, if you ask me. It's got all the core elements of From Ashes to New that we've come to know and appreciate, but it's not. It's missing that hook that I feel like I've said a lot this episode.
I liked this more than a lot of what I heard on that album last year.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But with that said, I'm still not absolutely loving it. I'm liking it.
Yeah,
I'm like, it needs some time. I have a feeling this. Okay, I don't know. Well, I don't know if I could formulate it necessarily as well as I want to, but this kind of reminded me a bit more of a Nevertell.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know. I guess it was just maybe the vocal like delivery and
I'm
everything.
getting Siler vibe.
I mean, well, we just listed 3 different rock bands with.
Yeah,
I don't know. I guess it's like I associate From Ashes to New more as like or I guess From Ashes to New and Siler more in like terms of like metalcore and rap, and I feel like Nevertell for me is more of like a post-hardcore and rap vibe.
Yeah.
And this to me gave me more post-hardcore vibes than metal vibes. I don't know.
I don't know if it was because of the album art or not, but I was also getting like
That's true.
Linkin,
Yeah, the color scheme.
Linkin Park.
Oh, Linkin Park. I was going with
Yeah.
the color scheme from the Nevertell.
Well, they also
album
did
art.
like an Evanescence cover, so that might be what they were going with for this.
I think the last point I want to bring up about the song is that my favorite part of the song is the chorus. It has a really strong chorus. Hits some really solid notes that are good, and then the follow-up to the chorus with a pretty nice riff. Overall, my favorite part of the song.
This is, to me, I feel like, we mentioned earlier when we were talking about Bullet for My Valentine, how they skip an album or whatever, where they're good and then not good. I feel like From Ashes to New skips songs for me. It's like, oh, this song is good, and then this one's like kind of, and then this one's good. And I feel like this one, I've hit a good From Ashes to New song, which is always something that I appreciate. But
I think that's about it.
We just got done talking about the album art for this one. So how about we talk about this sick-ass album art for the new single for the first time in 4 years. Eidola has put out a new song entitled Counterfeit Shrines.
Faith expands the faded toad. I trusted you when you said I'd never do this alone.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, but when this song came out, did you not say in our Discord server that you were like, I believe in Andrew Wells' supremacy or something along those lines?
Yes, and then Justin echoed my sentiment.
Of course.
I might be on that bandwagon soon enough.
Let's go.
This is my first exposure to Eidola. It took me way too long to finally give this band a chance.
Before we get into the song, they do have an album releasing the same day as the fucking Spirit Box album.
And the Don Broco album.
And
the
Don
Written by
Broco.
Wolves EP.
And the
What
is?
fuck
It's September 17th.
September 17th.
That might be the day Sleep Token comes out too.
No, I checked. I think they're a week later.
Okay.
They're 24th.
I was about to say, because I checked, because I knew they were September, and I'm like, holy shit, if it's September 17th,
September is gonna be
Yeah, you're right,
what August
24th.
2020 was.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
So
I
this
have one
kind
complaint with
of-
this song.
Okay.
The like 4 lines of this song that have unclean vocals.
Then you're not gonna like the last album.
Okay. Fair enough.
I think I prefer Andrew Wells in a Dance Gavin Dance setting more than this. I feel like I'm gonna get hatred for this. Like I cannot find, like, I enjoy his, like, I love his voice. Don't get me wrong, but I don't like it with this instrumentation, basically.
Yeah, that's an interesting bit. Is that Eidola's meant to be more of like a instrumentally technical band, kind of how like Dance Gavin Dance used to be, I guess, in a sense. Not to, I guess Dance Gavin Dance has gotten a little more pop driven and less technical a little bit, I would guess, in their instrumentation. But Eidola, I mean, the instrument, they put out an instrumental album for the 2017 album, and the instrumental version of the closer, Transcendentium Part 2, is like nuts. It's like euphoric. It's crazy. I really, this band has all the components. I think they sell themselves short maybe in their technicality and like the length of songs at some point, but that's more of like a personal preference type thing. If you gave me an Eidola album where every song was between 3 and 4 minutes, it'd be album of the year and it wouldn't be close. But yeah, I'm just happy to get new music from this band. Their 2017 album, To Speak to Listen, is retroactively probably my album of the year for that year. So very, very excited to find, especially because this has been done since, what, February of last year, I think?
God
and they
damn,
just had
have
to
they really
sit
just
on it.
pushed it back that far?
Well,
it's probably COVID.
well, there's that. So the guitarist of Dance Gavin Dance, Will Swan, had a record label, Blue Swan Records, which merged with Rise Records, and so Rise got put in control of this album. So between not being able to tour on it because of COVID, dealing with all the record label shifts and everything, and Rise handled it so poorly, just terribly, awfully. Fuck Rise Records.
I was actually gonna praise Rise when we talked about Contraband because it was so smart to put Courtney on that.
Yeah, I forgot to actually make the point, but I feel like they probably did that intentionally because they did Circle With Me, and then a month later they dropped Secret Garden. A month later they dropped Contraband featuring Courtney.
There's
So
gonna
I
be
feel
another
like-
Spirit Box single.
Yeah, I
too.
feel like we're due for another Spirit Box single, like a month away from Contra. Like I feel like they use the Make Them Suffer song as like kind of a Spirit Box release.
Look, they said, Rise Records publicly stated this album is done, it's good, back in like, I think March. And they posted a teaser of like one of the songs.
Of what year? Sorry, this year or last year?
No, of this year. And they were
Okay.
like, hey guys, if you post 1,000 memes about Eidola, we'll give you the Eidola single.
What?
And then 1,000 memes came in like within a day. And they did not give us the Eidola single. And they would constantly, there was a account called I think it's like Eidola Updates on Twitter, and Rise Records tagged them and said, "Yo, Eidola Updates, you good? Like, are you there?" And we were like, "Oh, great, Eidola single." And then it didn't drop for like another month, and they just dick teased the fans for no good reason, especially considering the album is done. And then they had the audacity to make it the same release day as Spirit Box. That is so. You are putting the release date for a smaller band on the same day as arguably the biggest up-and-coming metal band in music currently. What that's going to do to Eidola's numbers is extremely unfortunate. Rise has done nothing but fuck this band over. So as excited as I am for the opportunity for Eidola to gain more recognition, like on the label and everything like that, they've been mistreated so poorly, and it's honestly infuriating, like as a fan, to see, because this band has so much potential, and to have the promotion of Rise Records behind them could be huge for them. especially because people know Andrew Wells from a band as big as Dance Gavin Dance, and instead it's just kind of been squandered. I don't know, just annoying, but whatever. Either way, the song's sick, album art is sick. Excited for the album, all technicality with the label aside. Very excited to get some more music from this band, finally.
I also want to say that the chorus in this in particular is really good.
Mm-hmm. Yep, love that shit. God bless Andrew Wells.
God bless.
That ends our singles, fellas. We made it.
It does. We got 2 EPs and 4 albums to get through. So let's get started. We got a small little Aussie band to talk about. Feels like, once again, Australia bringing out some hidden gems. Color and Shade have put out their brand new EP, Hostile Grounds. Justin, this was something that you put me onto at the beginning of the month and was something that I enjoyed a surprising amount. So thank you for that.
I'll be honest, I didn't expect this to be on the playlist, but when you sent the playlist like a week ago, I was like, oh, I better give this another listen.
Yeah, this is a really solid EP. I think it starts with its best track in Equilibrium, and I don't think it's very close between Equilibrium and the rest. While the rest of the EP is good, Equilibrium is by far the standout, if you ask me.
I would put Equilibrium and Therapy kind of on the same podium. Therapy.
Yeah, I was gonna say
really
Therapy is the one that stood out to me.
Man, Rest was my favorite.
Rest is also really good. I would say Therapy and Equilibrium are tied than Rest. If you ignore Canvas, this EP has been released for since Equilibrium dropped, because Canvas is just kind of a interlude with a little bit of heavy vocals. But go ahead.
I was just gonna say that I think the standout to me on this album, I mean, the vocals are great. I think the instrumentation, and not necessarily like the way that it's played, but the mixing on it reminds me a lot of early Galleons material. It's like very what's the right word? Sharp, I guess. I don't know. I feel like there's a certain subset of bands that does that like sharp tone on their instrumentation, and it's either really hit or miss. And for me, this hit surprisingly well. You know, I wasn't familiar with this band before Justin put us onto them, but this was a surprisingly very good EP.
Yeah. I think Rest and Canvas were the 2 songs that didn't make my playlist, but by no means are they bad songs. I think both of those songs are the type of song that fit in the context of a bigger release, but lack that individual star power almost. Whereas, like, Equilibrium, Therapy, and Phoenix are all kind of more just stereotypical songs. Rest and Canvas feel a lot more experimental, almost interlude-esque for both of them. And I feel like they work really well in the context of the EP, but not something that I go back to just individually by itself. And I don't think that's a weakness. I think that's a stylistic choice, and I think it works. But that also kind of lacks the ability to have like certain songs take off. I don't know. It is a stylistic choice, and I don't have any major problems with it. It just is what it is. I don't have any complaints. It's just, yeah.
I think there's a lot of contrast in this EP as well. You know, you kind of start with Equilibrium, which is like this pretty action-packed single from start to finish, and you get to the middle of the EP with The Rest, which is just this very slower-paced song that you wouldn't really expect from the first half of the EP, and then the latter half it just goes as heavy as it can, which I wasn't really too feeling all that much. Not to say that the heavy vocalist is bad, but I like it more when there's a lot more of a balance between both vocals, and that's kind of why I Equilibrium balance. I guess it makes a little bit of sense. But apart from that, like, very surprised. I believe this is their first EP. They had an album back in 2018. I'm excited to see what else they got.
Yeah, definitely a band that's showing their potential. I think give this band some more time, they could really be releasing some hits. And I mean, Australia just built different, you know.
They really are. Them and Sweden are doing something right with their
Yeah.
vocals.
We
Whoa,
love it.
And just like
Wait, what
rock
about
and metal
Stolen?
music in
Stolen's
general.
is Swedish.
Yeah.
There's some outliers, okay.
There's a few outliers.
Suddenly I hate Sweden. Like,
Yeah, Color and Shade, Hostile Grounds, really solid EP. I think a pleasant surprise for all of us from what I can tell.
for
I
sure.
agree.
Mhm.
We got one more EP to talk about. Royals have dropped their new EP, A Spark to Ignite.
My head's filled with doubt. How many times will you tell me more before I leave you gone?
Someone from this band reached out to me on Instagram at some point last year and was like, hey, yo, check out our music. And that happens sometimes. You get bands, like, when you run a, like, music-related Instagram account and you use the hashtags, you're occasionally going to get bands DMing, like, hey,
Right.
check out our song to see what's going on. I think Royals are the best band to have ever been, that I have discovered from that method, and it's not particularly close, to be honest. This is a 5 for 5 EP, if you ask me, and one of my favorite EPs I have heard all year. It's just some fun pop punk from top to bottom, and given that it's a 5-song EP, the fact that it feels like it tells as much of a story as it does from song to song is impressive to do that in such a short time frame. I think
This is... No, go ahead. Sorry.
I think starting out with Worldwide Catastrophe is arguably my favorite song on the EP. It's just a nice song to get into it, but I feel like it really just ends on a very strong note. I can't piece together the entire message of the EP as a whole, but I know that it's there. It's just been a while since I listened to it in full because we are recording this episode a bit late into the month of July, so this has been out for a while now. But I think Out of Reach is really just a fantastic song to close this out from. Give me a second to pull up the lyrics, because I think there's a lot of really cool lyrics in Out of Reach. I think if there's one thing about this band that might be a little bit off-putting, it is their vocalist. He has a bit of a strange voice. It works for me, but I don't know if it works for everyone.
I think that's just the pop punk inflection, man. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I feel like most pop punk vocalists sound like that in one way or the other. I didn't mind it. I like it. I really like this EP. This is some of the best pop punk I've heard in a while. Pop punk for me is one of those genres that it either hits or it doesn't, and there's rarely ever any in between. And so when I get a pop punk release album or EP or whatever, even just a song that I enjoy, it's always a nice little, again, pleasant surprise. And this was one of those. I was not really super familiar with this band prior, but I was very impressed with this EP. I very much enjoyed it.
I am upset that there aren't any lyrics available for this band on Google, because Out of Reach has a really nice closing energy to it. It has a very uplifting vibe if you listen to it. I wish I had written down the lyrics ahead of time, but I didn't. I think another standout song on this EP for me is Gone, is the only quote-unquote new song from this EP. We only discovered them after they released I only discovered them after they had released Fairweather Friend and Out of Reach. We talked about them for the first time with Worldwide Catastrophe earlier this year. Gone, I think, is, if not my favorite song, my second favorite behind Worldwide Catastrophe. I know I just praised Out of Reach so much, but I really think that's more just for EP context that I enjoy it as much as I do. Gone has been probably the song I have gone back to the most since this dropped. And it's, as I've said, it's just very fun pop punk from top to bottom.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go back and give this a couple more revisits, I think. Not that I don't like it, but it's like, now that you've mentioned that, I feel like there's more that I need to unpack here that I haven't yet, and I feel like it's just going to spark my interest in it even further. So excited.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Royals are a solid band. I'm glad that we've been put onto them, and I'm excited to see
by them.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what more they have in store. Yeah, that's about it. I don't know if there's any other last comments you all want to make.
We want more bands to reach out to us so the podcast can be 4 hours long.
No.
I don't think Anchor can handle that.
We don't.
Oh, God.
We have a sanity to keep
Yeah,
intact.
Justin. Anchor is the only thing that can't handle the 4-hour podcast. Just Anchor.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, before we segue into the next album, I was trying for some reason, I was an idiot and trying to turn up Derek because I thought he was too quiet for some reason. So I tried to turn him up in through the live stream link. I was wondering why am I getting double Derek's? I was like, what? I was like,
don't know,
oh, I'm
man.
an
That's
idiot.
rough. You getting enough sleep recently?
No.
I don't know. Oh yeah, that'll do it. I think that leads us into our albums, right?
Yeah, that leads us into the
Yep.
4 albums of June. I feel like this is the quietest month since January in terms of big releases that we've had.
I would say so.
But I
Yeah,
don't think
I
that
mean,
detracts
well-
from the quality of them.
No,
Definitely not.
absolutely not. I'm taking this one.
Go for it.
Loveless have dropped their debut album titled Loveless 1.
How could I let you know? Been so misled, holding up to show.
Little band that I found, I believe, through Discover Weekly, and then put Justin onto them, who has
This is your fault.
loved them. Yep. I will take full responsibility. And all of us since, I feel like in some way or another have found something to love about this band. Now that the album is out, how are y'all feeling about it?
Yeah, it's safe to say that this band, Julian, just they have a really good sound and a really good mix of what they can do, especially with like, the slower songs like "Don't Miss You Anymore." A lot of it kind of feels a little bit poppier, which is good because that pop punk sound we
Yeah.
don't really usually get a lot nowadays. I feel like there's definitely a really good diversity in this album. The only thing that sets me apart from this album is that there isn't like a story from start to finish.
So you would prefer something like a
concept album?
album?
Not particularly. This does it right where it's a collection of singles that's been throughout this entire band's period. But I would love to see what they can do with a concept album, and making a story from start to finish, or a topic that is run or that shows itself all throughout the album. I feel like having that to play around with could definitely be really interesting, but by no means does that deteriorate from what this album is. It's just really good.
So I will take that and raise you that I think there is a story in this album. I think that, well, maybe not as much a story as a theme, perhaps, of kind of love and loss. Almost, I feel like, and not like loss in terms of somebody like passing away, but you were with this person, and then almost similar to a No Good Left to Give by Movements in a way, just like a little less depressing. That like you've got a relationship that had its highs and now it's ended, and you're trying to maybe not like cope or come to terms with, but you're dealing with that loss of this person was important to me and kind of my rock, and like I would do anything for them, and now I'm learning to navigate life without them. And then like the end of the album sort of like with 1,000 reasons kind of culminates as like, I've come to terms with it. I've got my own things to work out, but I'm not dependent on that person anymore. I think that Sun is probably the best indication for me of that. I think that's the right song anyway. Let me pull up the lyrics real quick before I completely butcher it. I believe, hold on. Yes, I still remember everything you like, following your footsteps in my mind, tearing up the pages that I write, because every line I read is through your eyes. That like, I am still afflicted by my memories of the time with that person. And they influence the way that I see things. It's not necessarily that the theme is like start to finish, like a story, like you were mentioning, Justin, that like that journey isn't documented throughout the album the same way that it would be with like a movements, but that it's still present throughout the album, I feel like. And if it's not, and that's not intentional, then that's all the much more that I'm enjoying this album because I'm able to get something personal out of it, you know? In terms of just like overall music, I really, really liked this a lot more than I was anticipating with the singles. Because Justin, I showed you this band and you ran with it, and you were way, way higher on it than I was in terms of the singles and everything. And for whatever reason, hearing them in the context of the album and getting to revisit them really gave them a new life for me. I ended up saving all but what, I think 2 or 3 of the songs on this album.
For reference, you sent, I believe it was For You when that came out. So only 2 singles of this band had come out, and I really enjoyed it. I think I was also kind of watching when Lighthouse came out. I think that's when I really just started to hit the ground running.
Wasn't Lighthouse like one of your favorite songs of last year?
It was one of my top 5.
Yeah.
I think it was top 3. I want to say top 3.
What is your guys' favorite track?
1,000 Reasons. Easy.
Let you know.
I don't know if I can count Exile. I'm gonna say Exile.
That's what I was gonna say. Can I count Exile?
Oh my goodness, dude, that first bit till the choruses kick in, like the verse 1 and verse 2, are probably, just thinking real quick, yeah, they're my favorite thing I've heard all year. Probably. Maybe not like the song as a whole per se, but like those moments.
Oh, I the song as a whole.
I sit there and I'll replay those moments. Kind of like that, 2 different styles of music, but how I'd go back and listen to that breakdown from Lorna Shore over and over again. It's sort of the same thing here, where I would just have to go back and listen to those bits over and over again. Which I also didn't realize at the time that I listened to it that it was a Taylor Swift cover, which like really bothers me because I have the original song saved and listened to it like relatively often, and I just had no idea until somebody on Twitter pointed it out, which I think is a testament to making a cover your own, you know.
Yeah.
If I can't pick Exile, it's probably Sun or Haunting Me.
If I can't pick Exile, it's 1,000 Reasons. I'm with Jake.
That's another one that came out as a single and I wasn't super high on it, and I wanted to be, and then I heard it on the album and it was just like, wow.
Which by the way, that echoes about what I was gonna say. Any of the singles that came out that with the album release you are now more of a fan of, I know Derek said 1,000 Reasons. I would say Better, mainly because it was the first single released, and hearing that again in kind of a new take with a bunch of other songs lined up to it, it's definitely got some staying power.
I have to say this again. I said it last time when we reviewed 1,000 Reasons, but since Julian's in the chat, I gotta say it. My mom likes 1,000 Reasons, and
Hell yeah.
I just had to say it.
Yeah, you know, 1,000 Reasons being another one of the singles I was high on. You've also, I know I mentioned when we were talking about 1,000 Reasons that I wasn't as into Smile. Smile clicked with me. Down Again clicked with me. Lighthouse clicked with me. I mean, just better clicked with me. All the singles that I just like could not connect with as much as I wanted to, like all clicked in the context of the album. And well, no, I take that back. I still don't like Someone Else. Someone Else is actually my least favorite track on this album, and it's ironically, we were talking earlier about how Kellen Quinn is like a god tier feature. The Kellen Quinn feature on Someone Else is my least favorite moment on this album, which like sucks because I want to like it more, you know.
There is a reimagined of Someone Else coming out, and Julian's been posting snippets of it, and it sounds really good. I feel like that will probably be much better than Someone Else. I still really enjoy Someone Else, But I feel like the Reimagine is just gonna.
There's an easy fix. I put all the songs into a Spotify playlist. I take the reimagined version, put it as track 6. We play the album. It's fine. Everybody, we're good.
You
Go
did
home.
that with the fucking Slaves album,
yeah.
and they
Oh,
they went back and changed.
Slaves with
Yeah.
good heavy.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what that playlist is still one of my favorite
So
things.
Julian's just gonna replace someone else with the Reimagine.
Yeah. I think this overall for me, this album was very much a pleasant surprise. A couple tracks on here, mainly for you, let you know, and like I mentioned, someone else that I'm not quite as high on, but with me not clicking with the singles, I went with very muddled expectations into this album, and it took me a couple listens to really get into it, but now that I've heard it, I'm hooked. Like this is low-key sitting at like the bottom half of my top 10 right now. After I said on release night that, it's going to get close, but it won't crack my top 10. I think making those revisits really helped me appreciate the album a bit more.
I feel
that's
like that's a
definitely hard to
good
do.
way to transition into my thoughts since I've stayed kind of
Yeah.
quiet up to
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
point.
I'm curious to hear what you think.
Yeah, this is also currently sitting at like the bottom of my top 10 albums of the year so far, and I don't expect it to stay. But let me explain what's good, in my opinion, first, before I get to that. 1,000 Reasons is still my favorite track on this album, and it is not close.
Okay.
Throughout all of the singles that came prior to this album for me, they were all good. But, like, Someone Else was probably my favorite. I really liked Haunting Me, but, like, other than that, I wasn't really clicking with them. 1,000 Reasons comes out and is by far, like, instantly... I don't even have to hear the full song, and it's my favorite thing that I've heard from this band. And then being able to go back to a lot of the singles that I didn't really appreciate as a single in the album, I definitely think I like them, but not enough to make me go back to them consistently. Like, I can't tell you a thing about what Better For You or Down Again sounds like at this point. I have genuinely no idea what they sound like off memory. And...
Well, just
considering,
go
like,
listen to it. No,
well,
I'm
yeah,
just
I could just go listen to it. But the fact that those songs are just so unmemorable to me, I feel like that's a really big hit to an otherwise really good album. Like, other than those 3 songs, I really enjoyed just about everything I heard on this song. The songs that were left out as singles, Let You Know, Control, I Don't Miss You Anymore, those songs are all like 3 of my 5 favorites outside of 1,000 Reasons and Haunting Me. So you save the best for the full release, if you ask me. But a lot of those singles, like, even after revisiting them in the context of the album, they just haven't really worked for me. Just have not clicked. I don't know if they will, but outside of that one small kind of disappointment for me, this album's really solid.
So
Especially
how
for a
many
debut.
Sorry. Oh yeah, that is a excellent point to make. This is a debut album. We have bands out here on their like 3rd, 4th, 5th album that aren't putting out material as good as this. And I feel like the variation on it, it opens the doors for like future whatever it's called, future material. Right? Like there's enough variation here that the next album can take a potentially completely different direction. Like I feel like it's a very versatile album.
Loveless deathcore album.
Yo, when
Julian just started doing screams.
Julian joins Lorna Shore, and the rest is history. Jake, I wanted to ask you, how many times have you heard the album?
I only listened to it in full that once, but I have gone back to like the other individual singles to see if they've grown on me.
Because something I will say to your point about not being able to say anything about Better or Down Again. I can, but it's because I've heard them like 8 billion times after the album released. But I could say the same about For You or Let You Know, which really, I'm wondering if it's like, how do I put this? That you would well, obviously you would remember the track more the more you listen to it, right? But
Yeah.
like, I feel like there may be a general theme, and this is like kind of like a gripe almost, that the songs sometimes muddle together in a way that like, if you like the individual track, you're going to go back and re-listen to it, and then it gets its own identity, but like off the rip, some of the songs kind of blend together. Does that make sense? Like,
I
if you
think
like,
I got it.
because you know what? That's why it took me so many re-listens, is because if I just heard the album for the first time only, then I feel like half the tracks I wouldn't be able to tell you much about because they're all good, but they didn't have that something that jumped out at me, you know. And then the more time I spent with it, the more time I recognized it. But
I'm more so. I almost feel like it's a bit of my fault because every song on this album is in my playlist. It's just that those early singles are all the way back in my playlist when we first discovered this band.
yeah,
And I refuse to re-add them to my playlist now as like the new album version. So like I can't just like where I have Let You Know and Control and I Don't Miss You Anymore in my playlist, I don't have Down and Again and For You next to it when I feel like I should be treating those as new songs given that I am so unfamiliar with them.
yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of all I have to say on this album. There's a chance it grows on me and makes my top 10, but I almost feel like a lot of other bands have to drop the ball for me to solidify this into my end of year top 10 list.
Yeah, there's
But
still
it's sitting there
lot
now. It could stay there. There's a chance.
I have a feeling it will for me, just on the grounds that, like how Toby was talking about earlier, where like he burnt out on what was that track?
Afterlife.
Yeah, where you listen to it enough that like you kind of started to feel down on it. I've spent a lot of time with this album, and it hasn't lost any of its shine, I guess, to me. So, I mean, we'll see come the end of the year. Obviously, September 17th alone has like 3 album of the year contenders coming out, let alone the rest of the year. But
Yeah.
Either way, very, very appreciative of this album. Julian, if you're out there, press it to vinyl, please. I need it. I need it as soon as humanly possible. Yeah, overall, great album, great surprise. Just in general, especially for a debut album. Can't wait to see what else is coming out.
I think we should get on track with these last 3 albums because we spent a while on that one, and we're getting close to that 3-hour mark, and I was hoping we'd avoid it. Let's try and stay below the 3-hour mark. What do we say?
We'll give it our best.
Did you say below?
I did.
Fuck.
You're welcome.
Are you gonna run with it, or like did you just
Nope. That's it.
Fuck it.
Just
All
below.
right, fuck it. Beartooth has put out their newest album entitled Below.
No more carrying the weight of that inside. Realigning till I find a way to dominate.
Now this is confidently in my top 10 albums of the year.
Oh,
Are you kidding me?
There's no way you like this more than Loveless.
I do.
I'm gonna. You know what? After I'm done beating the shit out of Solence, I'm coming for you next.
What can I say?
But who will edit the Hivemind recap?
Oh shit, that's right. We have to do work if he's gone.
I just enjoy the Beartooth sound. It's repetitive. I don't care. I enjoy it. Disease was in my top 5 albums of 2019, albeit I listened to maybe 12 albums that year because I was just getting into this scene. But I enjoy everything I heard off of this album. It's repetitive at times. There are some moments I don't like, but there are enough moments that I do like, and it also contains one of my top 3 favorite songs of the year in The Past Is Dead. I would be surprised if it doesn't make my top 10 songs of the year come December at this point, given how much it's been in constant rotation for months now. And then otherwise, it's just solid across the board for me. I know you guys have your complaints with it, but for me, it's just pretty much, it's just about everything that I could have wanted out of a Beartooth album. Like, Below isn't my favorite opener, but it's grown on me as time goes. Devastation, I still really enjoy. Fed Up, I still really enjoy. I think the only other single I haven't mentioned yet, Hell of It, is the weakest song on this album by quite a while. It's just, if there's any weak point, it's that one. It just has a very underwhelming chorus, and the trash cans in the breakdown don't redeem it for me.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think the other non-singles that we haven't talked about yet that I really enjoyed, Phantom Pain, Skin, and I Won't Give It Up are probably the ones I've gone back to the most. Phantom Pain, I feel like, has a bit of a twist at the end where it kind of just goes heavy for an extra minute because Caleb Shomo said so.
Yep.
And I'm very conflicted on what I feel about it because it makes the song stand out. At the time, I don't like that extra minute of heaviness, and I would have preferred this song end about 50 seconds earlier. But at the same time, would it be too repetitive if it was not the extra 50 seconds? I don't know. It's very, like, pick your poison almost, but, like, it's not a poison because I'll enjoy it either way. When I first heard the guitar on Phantom Pain and the little hand clap, you give me a hand clap and I am all ears, by the way. Like, hand claps on a song, and I'm convinced immediately, basically. Which is why Phantom Pain, like, immediately stood out to me. And then, the more I've gone back and explored some of the other songs that I wasn't as high on initially, I think No Return has really grown on me. It has a really funky riff that I really enjoy. Dominate is really heavy and has grown on me for similar reasons to No Return. And I've saved it for last, but the last riff, that could have been one of my favorite songs of the year if it had vocals.
A travesty.
But I think that even as an instrumental, it is really goddamn good. And it takes a lot to get me to enjoy a raw instrumental at this point. But the last riff does it. There's so much depth and atmosphere to that song. And it feels like you could just end the song on, or you could just end the album on The Answer, and, you know, it's a solid closer, it's fine. The last riff, even though it's like a heavier riff, guitar-driven song, it feels like it gives you a moment to breathe and take in everything that you just heard. And I want to compare it to While She Sleeps, because they ended that album with kind of just like a dialogue almost. And I think it was a neat idea, and it gave me time to like think about everything I had just heard, but I didn't really love it as a song. The last riff is a closer, unlike anything else on the album, that actually gives you a chance to appreciate the song while you're still enjoying what you're hearing. It doesn't feel like, when I heard that While She Sleeps album, it was like I was just waiting for it to end almost, whereas the last riff, I'm engaged in what I'm hearing while still taking in everything that I had just heard. I don't know what more I can say. Evidently, I really enjoyed this album.
Alright. I gotta get the one positive I have about this album.
Hit me with it.
It is breakdowns.
Yep.
That is the only good thing I can find in this album. And other than that, it is more of the same. Feels like the last album over again.
And, well, it kind of is the last album over again, hence why it's currently in my top 5 albums of the year.
Jake mentioned that the last riff was a good time to reflect on what you had heard.
Okay.
And what you heard was Caleb Shomo delivering shitty metaphors about depression for 11 tracks and the 8th year in a row on an album that sounds the same as the other 3, with the same formula in every song. It's not bad. I'm going to put that out there. I listened to it again, and then I listened to it again, and it grew on me. From like a 3 out of 10 to like a 5 out of 10. Man, at this point, you either like Beartooth or you don't. You may get a couple individual songs here and there from every album. That's what I do. Overall, Beartooth, I'm not sold. And I figured out why it is. I listened to the album with my like god tier headphones that my friend gave me. And
Not sponsored.
Yeah, of course. Shout out to Mason. The bass, for the most part, is just like non-existent. It's like the low end of the instruments, like in terms of drums and bass, for the most part, feel like on most of the album they just have no impact. Like, it's very vocal and guitar centric, and it's like what I'm listening to feels very surface level at times. Like, not even just in the lyricism, that's a whole different issue, but like the instrumentation, I'm getting a lot of guitars, a lot of vocals, which is great because, you know, the guitars are really well done. There's great riffs, great breakdowns, but it feels like there's some life missing to a lot of the songs, and they lack that full volume, not in like terms of like level of sound, but the fullness of the sound I feel like is lacking at times. And I just, the mixing, I can't get behind it. With that said, I think that it's very impressive that Caleb Shomo does literally all of the instrumentation by himself. The fact that we got blast beats on a Beartooth song is nuts. I did not expect that at all. I think The Past is Dead is still my favorite song on here, but other highlights for me are Phantom Pain and Skin, which I enjoyed despite the rest of the album feeling a little lackluster to me.
So outside of the fact that you really don't like this album very much, we have like pretty much the same favorite songs.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like it for the reasons I mentioned. I don't think that it's like an objectively bad album, but like, again, if Beartooth puts out 4 of the relatively same album at this point, you either like the Beartooth sound or you don't, and I don't. I'm on the hot milk hype train. I'm not on the Beartooth hype train, and I'm waiting for them to sell me. But 4 albums deep, I'm not sure if it'll happen.
I think that's totally fair. I think what you said about you either like Beartooth or you don't is really true. I think that's a really, like, evidently I'm just one of those people that likes Beartooth. I'm not gonna try.
You are not alone.
I'm not gonna try and run away from that statement. I just really like Beartooth. It's not for everyone, and that's fine.
Now, I mentioned that I didn't like the mixing on the Beartooth album. In turn, this next album has my favorite mixing and production that I have heard all year. Light the Torch are back with their newest album, You Will Be the Death of Me. Light the Torch, the newest project from Howard Jones. I believe they've got that one 2018 album. Jake, how do you feel about this in contrast to that 2018 album?
Significant step up, if you ask me.
I agree.
I only really saved like 2 or 3 songs from that 2018 album. I'm gonna have to go back and give it a listen now that I've listened to this new album and I like it as much as I do. I feel like there's got to be something missing that, like, I didn't appreciate back when I first heard that album for the first time in like 2019. That, like, I should be able to have a new appreciation for it at this point. I don't know if that's gonna happen or not. We'll see. But this album, it feels, in the way that Beartooth feels very similar from song to song. I feel like Light the Torch has a similar kind of, like, you're kind of getting the same thing on most songs, and I don't like those elements as much as I did with Beartooth. However, there is still a lot that I enjoyed about this album. It's one of those things where I am enjoying everything that I'm hearing, but I'm not going to go back to it that much. I added a lot of this album into my playlist. I'm not going to go back and listen to a lot of these songs individually that often. The one standout that I will be going back to consistently, though, is the title track, Death of Me. Death of Me feels like it takes the best piece of the Light the Torch sound and it shoves them all into one song, if you ask me. You get an absolutely huge chorus, you get a sick riff, you get a sick breakdown. Overall, Death of Me, just by far my favorite track on this album. But I do think you get some other really solid songs throughout. I really liked, what was it? Let Me Fall Apart from the singles was my favorite single. And then I also really enjoyed Living with a Ghost. Other than that, there's a lot of good here, but not a lot that stands out to me.
I am going to echo that last statement almost word for word. This is my favorite album I've heard this year that I've saved nothing from. And well, you can go ahead, Jacob.
Oh, I was gonna just say I agree. I've only heard it once. Like, I only heard it this morning, and I enjoyed it more than I thought I would.
Same.
But yeah, I agree with Derek there. I have nothing saved.
I what it
This is sorry.
no,
This
no,
is
no,
one
go
of
ahead.
those bands that is amazing live to see, and I would like to see them live again. But it's just like I don't really. It's not really because I would go to their or go to listen to their music. It's more that I like. They're just fun to watch, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, when you got Howard Jones as the vocalist, that's
Yeah.
kind of hard to deny a live performance of.
He is my least favorite part of this band, and it's not even close.
Man.
I don't.
Really?
I just, yeah, I don't like his vocals. They're too much. I think I have two issues with this album, and I think they're kind of intertwined. There are moments on here where I really, and I can't name any specific songs off the top of my head, but I remember feeling this way about a lot of the album. That there are moments where I wanted a longer breakdown, maybe a heavier breakdown, just a breakdown in general, maybe a solo, something like that. This to me feels very much like, well, I guess it's because it is, but like metal, just like plain metal.
Hmm.
And plain metal to me is very like, I think of like, a little more epic, I guess, like we've used to describe his voice before. And that combination of his voice and that like song structure at times doesn't quite do it for me. I don't necessarily think that I'm left wanting more because I know that this band is achieving everything with their sound that they want to achieve. It's just that the sound isn't necessarily for me. But with that said, like I mentioned before, this is my favorite mixing and production that I have heard all year because there are so many little like instrumental nuances I feel like that really, really, really come through in like even hearing it through my shitty tinny car speakers. I could still hear it, let alone through headphones. And like every instrument feels like it has its own life and is clearly audible. I mean, I look, drop me an instrumental version of this album and I'm sold, right? Like I would love to hear it without the vocals because like it's not even necessarily that it's technically impressive, but just the way that it sounds is so nice. I love it. Really, really ashamed that Howard Jones's vocals aren't for me because if there was a different vocalist or if his vocals clicked for me, this would probably be a top 10 contender just based on the sonic elements alone.
I think if I had to make like one last complaint, the weak songs on this album for me are "Become the Martyr" and "Denying the Sin." Those two songs in particular really just didn't click with me, compared to everything else that I enjoyed for the most part. I think my biggest problem with those two songs is that my biggest problem with Light the Torch in general is Howard Jones's uncleans. And I feel like those two songs feature them the most prominently and also the most in a way that I don't enjoy. Because Death of Me is my favorite song on this album. It has some unclean moments, but I feel like they work really well there. I don't think they work that well in Become the Martyr and Denying the Sin.
I'm gonna say the opposite. I prefer his uncleans over his cleans.
I agree. But as I've expressed before, I'm not a huge Howard Jones cleans fan. I think I've made that
call
abundantly
him?
clear.
The theater boy or something last month?
Yeah. Howard Jones is the theater kid of metal. I stand by that statement. He does the most.
I don't know if there's too much more to say, shall we?
I think we go for it. Bring us to our final album.
Derek, take it away.
Sullivan King has released his new album entitled Loud.
Become anybody.
This shit is loud.
This shit is loud.
Oh man, okay, so Sullivan King, basically the pioneer, or at least one of the pioneers of bringing the fusion of rock, metal, and EDM that has become more and more prominent, especially over the past 2 years with artists like Phase One and Keizo. And what's interesting is that not only does he get features from bands from the scene, he also does guitar and both clean and unclean vocals himself, which I feel like is a really interesting. It's a very talented person, musician. So this album to me feels like a good blend of EDM and non-EDM. Like there's some songs in here that have like a couple electronic elements, but they're more like guitar focused and just singing. And then there's some with like the traditional like dubstep drop that you would expect from a dubstep producer. I feel like it kind of balances out, like almost maybe 1-for-1 on both of those different styles of songs, where one is, maybe more majority EDM influence, and the other one is kind of EDM takes the back burner.
I felt like it was actually kind of, the EDM influences, in my opinion, were kind of minor. I only felt it on like 2 or 3 songs.
I mean, yeah, there were some that have like big drops and like whatever. Yeah, just a lot of variation, I guess, from an artist who started out kind of as more of a dubstep centered.
Although I guess in saying that, I didn't really recognize the EDM elements outside of like 2 or 3 songs. I'm not as well exposed to EDM these days compared to what I used to be. And Derek, I feel like you're still more into it than I am.
Yeah, there's been a lot of genres recently that have kind of just revitalized themselves into my playlist, and something I guess like, oh man, the standout on this album for me is the transition of the intro into Loud. I gave "And We Wish You the Best of Luck," the intro, on my little like cheat sheet of albums where I rank them and do all that nerd shit. I gave this the first 10 of the year for an intro, because like it's supposed to be like alarming and like make you anxious, kind of like if you're on a roller coaster. And I actively got anxious listening to the intro, and I think it transitioned almost perfectly into Loud, which made me like Jason Allen Butler vocals, which is a miracle in and of itself. Yeah, another standout for me, I guess, would be Dark Love featuring Aaron Gillespie of, I believe, Under Oath.
Yes, you're correct.
Sullivan King managed to make me not only like Jason Allen Butler, but also Spencer Sharness for once. So like that's a win in my book. Scene Kids Unite, I thought was a funny track name, and just basically a kind of acoustic reminiscent of just going to Warped Tour and like getting sunburnt and dehydrated and stuff like that. And finally, I think getting the Grabbits feature was a really big throwback that I did not expect. Grabbits, I guess he's been putting out music the whole time, but he was a kind of a mainstay on Monster Cat back in like 2014, 2015. So brought back a lot of memories of that time, playing games with friends and everything.
I was expecting more of an EDM influence on that song compared to what I actually got from that.
I almost wish there was a bit more of an EDM influence throughout the entire album, because that's the aspect of Sullivan King that I enjoy the most, when that's at the forefront and he can bring the metal aspects to the background. And there are a couple songs here, I guess, for me, like Lock Me Up, Yeah, I Bet, and I've Got a Plan, that like I could give or take. They're there. I liked them. I'd listen to them again, but they didn't really grab me. But overall, I was very, very happy with this album, more so than I anticipated, because the singles were all mainly featuring the scene vocalists, and I knew that might be different than what the rest of the album was. You get the feature songs to grab people's attention, then you hook them into the rest of the album. But overall, yeah, a very great experience. Jake, I'd be interested to hear your full thoughts on it.
This was another album that I enjoyed more than I expected to. I expected the EDM influences to kind of run more rampant. Like, I guess the dubstep influences that we got on, like, Loud or Dark Love.
Yeah.
I expected more of that, and considering those are, like... I'm just not a huge fan of those wubs.
Right.
Yeah. The fact that they weren't very present throughout the rest of the album was a pleasant... I'm gonna stop myself.
Yeah. Dude, you call it how it is, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's only so many ways to put it.
Yeah. I think that because there was a lack of the EDM influences, I was able to enjoy this album more than I expected to. It was definitely like subverted expectations. compared to what I ended up getting. And what I ended up getting is my favorite song on this album in Lock Me Up, which just has some fun, loud, raging energy to it. Kind of rock and roll-esque almost, with like his vocals and just how the song just keeps going and going. There is never a moment to breathe in that song. I just love the energy there. This album is full of energy just from top to bottom.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's loud. It lives up to its name.
I think especially that feature of Jason Allen Butler from Fever 333 on Loud. That feels like such a match made in heaven to me, combining those two people, Sullivan King and Jason. Like, imagine them together live. That would be fucking nuts.
Yeah. Shit's crazy.
I feel like hearing Loud live, I would be able to get into it. It's not a song that I'll go back to often, like on my own, but that's a song that would hype me up if I heard it live. I feel like, especially if both of them were like doing it together, like if they went on tour together or something in some dream world. Overall, outside of Lock Me Up, this is. I can't really say too much more about this album because it's an album that I enjoyed more than I expected to and did not spend very much time with. This is one of those albums that it really fell through the cracks for me on the wave of releases that came at the end of June. And it's something that I know I really enjoy but have not spent enough time with to really get any further in, beyond the fact that, like, yeah, Venomous was a good single. I really, really like Lock Me Up. There's some other good stuff too, but I can't really say much about it. But I know it's good. So that's kind of where I'm sitting right now.
Jacob, Justin, any thoughts on this? Did you get around to it?
No, I didn't get around to it, unfortunately.
I got halfway through. And
I'll
then
take it.
I ran out of time.
Yeah, Sullivan King always going to be one of those artists where it's like very hit or miss for me, but when he hits, and there's enough hits here that leave me very happy and satisfied with what I got.
Is that a wrap?
That wraps us up, yeah.
Fellas, I think we made it under 3 hours.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Thank God.
Let's wrap this show up quick before we actually break 3 hours. What do we say?
For sure. For sure.
If you want to keep up to date with this show and any other shenanigans the four of us get up to, follow on social media at HiveMindRadio_ on Instagram and Twitter. Hivemind Radio Recap on Spotify. You can look at the Hivemind June 2021 recap playlist if you liked everything that we talked about this month. And yeah, that's about it for socials. Any last thoughts on the month of June as a whole?
One last thing, Dad. We do these live.
Yep.
And if Julian from Loveless was actually in the chat while we were talking today, so next time maybe you can meet somebody in the chat.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no problem.
If you'd like to hear the podcast without all the cuts and edits for various things, by all means.
Before we get edited,
the scuffed version,
raw and unfiltered.
Yeah. It's out. I mean, you can also go back. There's a playlist on the YouTube channel of all of the live VODs. If you're really that interested, it's out there.
Do it because we're idiots and it's fun.
But yeah, I think that's a wrap. June was a pretty solid month. I know, Justin, you were saying this month was kind of underwhelming for you. Yeah. But I think for the rest of us, we all got a lot of stuff that we really enjoyed.
I guess, Jake, you could say you were pleasantly surprised.
Shut up!
I'll say it. I was pleasantly surprised.
Thanks,
you and me both,
thanks,
man.
Jacob.
Yes, pleasantly.
I would tell you to shut up, but it's funnier if I only say it to Quill. So
yeah, exactly.
See if I get you water next time. Gosh.
Oh, it all comes back together. It all comes back together. I think that's going to be a wrap on this month's episode. Thanks for listening. If you did, we appreciate you. Be sure to stick around for hopefully another After Hours episode soon. I don't know who we're going to sit down with next and talk with, but we're still doing those bi-monthly for now, every other month. Unless our schedules all clear up and we can afford to do it every month. But for now, look forward to that and our July recap in a few weeks.
Yep.
But yeah, that's going to wrap it up.
Pay attention to the Twitter if we do After Hours. Because we don't usually know when we do those until they happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Very true. Our monthly recaps are predictable. After Hours episodes a little bit less so.
Yeah, maybe not so much.
Yeah.
No, not enough for this month.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Look, things happen. It is what it is. We're relatively consistent. It's fine.
Also, Jake's tried to end this like 4 times now.
And for
Yeah.
the 5th time, thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed. Have a good night.
Good one, everyone.
Yes, yes.